Hey, thanks for checking out episode 43 of the Unlockable podcast, where today Hannah and I are discussing 3 game franchises each that we want to see risen from the dead. We are loosely calling this our Halloween episode because raising the dead, kind of like zombies, you know? Yeah. Believe it or not, I'm going to spare you all of the Rayman talk in this episode. I decided y'all hear me talk about the dude way too much, so I chose 3 other franchises I'd really love to see come back. So why not give this show a sweet, sweet 5-star rating on your podcast app of choice, and we'll get this show started. Welcome back to the Unlockable podcast. My name's Christian, and joining me is the Game Girl Advance SP.
Hey, that's me.
Joining me, as always, Hannah. When I was writing up some notes today for this show, I realized that your name is a lot like the word race car. Did you know that?
Yeah, it's called a palindrome. And that's literally the only cool thing about me. Is that my name can be spelled backwards and forwards.
Only a person whose name can be spelled backwards and forwards would know that that is called a palindrome.
Yeah, like I said, I made that like my whole personality growing up. That's me. Like Bob and Mom.
Bob and Mom? Come on. Those are easy. Hannah is a whole 6 letters, dude.
That's true. You're right.
Why haven't I realized it before? I don't know. I guess the capital H and the lowercase h just makes me oblivious to it. Anyways, what are we talking about here today? How have you been for the last month? Is everything going well in life? Is everything going miserable? How's it going?
Oh, absolutely miserable. No, it's fine. Just, doing the whole job search, and that's no fun, getting rejection emails and whatnot. But yeah, I'm having a good time. I went up to Tallahassee, which I went to Florida State now that I graduated there, and I don't live there. I think I can say that now. Went to a couple football games, kind of hung out with some old friends, talked to some old professors. So it was a lot of fun. That's what I've been doing. What about you?
That sounds good. I've been trying to get into the Halloween mood, I guess, with my weekends. So I went to go see a movie. I went to go see the original Halloween last weekend, like 1978 Halloween. And it was on the rooftop of like a downtown building. I'm sure other cities have this. You might be familiar, but in Houston they have something called the Rooftop Cinema Club, and you can just go to the top of like a parking garage, and there's this movie theater outdoor set up, and it's just super cool. They have like these fancy lawn chairs and these double wide fancy lawn chairs if you're on a date or whatever, and they just throw it onto like a projector, and they give you headphones, and you're watching the movie. It's almost like going to a drive-in movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it was actually really cold for like 5 minutes in Texas, and that night it happened to be ice cold, and I love that crap. And ice cold meaning like 50 degrees. Let's be honest here.
Right.
But yeah, it was awesome. Would recommend.
Huh. That sounds awesome. Have you ever been to a drive-in movie theater?
Yeah, we actually had one here in the Houston area for a long time, and I think it just shut down, but I've been a few times.
I love them. They are so much fun. Me and my friend, because I have a Jeep, so me and my friends, we just get a whole bunch of blankets and fun stuff, and we put like it all on top of the Jeep so that we can watch it instead of having to sit inside the car. Super fun.
Heck yeah. How Halloween, can you hear it then?
No thanks. They have it on like the like poles, and there's like a radio station you tune into, so it's got like speakers on the outside.
Right.
Mhm. Like they did it in the old days.
Yeah, I just thought like, if you have the radio on but you're outside of the vehicle, I don't know how you would hear it, but
oh, you can still hear
the poles.
The poles, man, the poles.
Other spooky stuff. I went to see The Exorcist this past weekend. This was pretty good. The new Exorcist movie. I liked it.
Oh, was it? Have you seen the other ones?
Actually, no.
Oh, I was about to say, is it scarier than the old ones?
Honestly, my mom's seen the old ones. She said that this one was not nearly as scary. but
Really?
she has been known to not be the best judge of horror films from like her teenagehood or whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
she'll be like, "Oh, Hellraiser scared the crap out of me," and I also watched that this month, and that was like the most garbage movie. It was not scary. The effects were garbage, but I think it's just aged so poorly after 40 years or whatever, 30 years.
Huh. No, I have not. The only scary movies I've ever seen are the Scream franchise, and that was mostly hiding behind my hand. So I don't know how much I actually saw, but like I was there. I felt it, you know? I heard it.
Yeah,
No thanks.
I have a
Scary.
lot of the classic horror films I've just never ever seen, and Halloween was one of them. So I'm like, I kind of got this list going, and I'm trying to knock some classic horror movies off the list. I watched Friday the 13th last year, finally got that one under my belt, but yeah, most of these
Mm-mm.
are not scary by 2023 standards.
Uh-huh. Well, speak for yourself. It would definitely still scare me.
Let's get into it. Today, we're going to discuss 3 games each that we would like to see risen from the dead because it's Halloween.
Yes. And we were constrained by picking 3 because we wanted to give you guys a break and not have to listen to us talk for 3.5 hours. So we'll see.
We're
We'll see how
gonna
this goes.
we're gonna see how it goes. I still found myself writing notes for hours on I think Sunday night. I was just like, my gosh, how do we make a short episode? I don't know, but maybe
I
this
don't
will
know
be short.
either. Like I said, we have 3 series and I still have 13 pages of notes. So I don't know. We'll see.
Let's start with a little discussion here. What causes games to stop getting new sequels? Why don't you go first?
Okay, well, so I think the obvious one is declining sales.
Yeah.
You put out a series and the first one might sell great and then the second one sells okay and then either there's just not enough hype behind the game or whatever, but you're not going to make a game that no one's going to buy. So declining sales, I guess. Also, companies might want to focus on other projects. Maybe a company just has made so many in the series that they all just seem like the same thing, so nobody's buying them, and so there's just like creative burnout. They don't feel
Yeah.
like they can make another game that's going to be as good or better than the previous releases. Also, I guess
Almost like the series has peaked.
yeah, exactly. I guess another one is too many similar games in the market. So I guess like market saturation with so many games being made of the same
That's a good one.
genre. So people are just have less eyes on your game in general. Let's see. This is a good one. Licensing and legal issues. So I know with, you know what? I don't want to say this one specific one, but I know that games with songs in them usually have to be licensed by those people, and so that can sometimes get in the way of them making new releases.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's one you think about a lot with remakes, remasters, ports, but you don't think about that with sequels. That's a really good point. Like if you're making a bunch of games based on freaking Paw Patrol, well, you can't make a sequel if you lost the license.
right.
I know everyone in the
Or
audience can really connect to the example of Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrols. I was gonna say something like Harry Potter or like Adventure Time or like one of those other ones that I know has a lot of games. Let's see. Another one, I guess, is just that along the way there was some kind of development challenge. Like they got halfway through this game, halfway through the sequel, and they're like, it's just not going to work. So they just ditch it. They pitch it, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see. Also, if a company has like something like Retro Studios where they're working on a lot of games at one time, they just decide that one project is going to be more lucrative to them than the other, so they just decide to pitch it for whatever reasons. What else? Also, mergers and like acquisitions. Like, God, what was the one? Telltale? Is that the one that was like acquired or something, and then they decided not to go forward with some of their games, or is that one that went out of business?
They were definitely out of business and then got acquired at some point. I don't know what happened after that.
And then at some point they just decide that whatever projects that smaller studio was doing that got acquired by the bigger studio is like, yeah, you know what? I just don't think this is going to work out. It doesn't fit like our, I don't want to say flow, but fits like our kind of genre of games over here. So they just decide to not go forward with it anymore. Also, another one, I guess a big one, is financial constraints. You know, you get halfway through a sequel to a game or whatever, the third entry in the series, and then you just run out of money, you know, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's like, well, pack it up. We're dry.
I'm willing to bet 90%, maybe 95% of the reason a game doesn't get a sequel is money related in some sort of way, whether it's poor sales or, like you just said, they literally didn't have the money to make it.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. And then I guess just another one that kind of goes hand in hand with that is time constraints. Like, we know that development cycles for games is super long, can be 5, 6, 7, 10 years. And then they just run out of money somewhere along the way, or it just gets delayed, and then no one remembers that it was even announced. So they just decide to not go forward with it. I think those are the major ones that I have. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons. Or like if a company gets like protested or something and people don't necessarily like what they're doing. And so they don't buy their games. And so they're like, well, people aren't buying the games. And they hate us, so let's not make any more.
I don't know if that's ever happened before, but that's an interesting one.
I mean, I could see it happening in the future, I guess. But
yeah,
not with these like AAA big companies. I don't know.
The only one that you didn't mention that I wrote down is like a story has concluded, you know, the writer doesn't have anything else to share. Yeah, I mean, that one's pretty self-explanatory, but
that's a good one. But, you know, I feel like, especially with TV series, I think more than game series, is they can always milk it for more. Oh, it's a prequel. Oh, it happens before this. Or, oh, it's like in an alternate universe. Blah, 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 blah. I feel like that happens so many more times than you think it does.
I think you're absolutely right. I feel like that might be the case with the Mother series, though. Like, I haven't done the research fully on Mother 3 and why there's no Mother 4 or whatever, but I'm just going to assume that this dude was so passionate about his 3 games, Shigesato Itoi, like, he just loved what he did. He loved those games, and it took him so long to get the third game out. It got delayed for like a decade or two, and it finally came out, and I feel like maybe he just finished the story and he's not going to do another one. Like, he doesn't have anything else left to tell. I think if you're like really passionate about it and you're not just making the games for the money, then you might not want to milk it, but that's got to be a very rare case, I feel like.
That's probably a really good example. I haven't played those, so obviously I don't know. But if you're come to the point and a conclusion of a story where, like, I feel good, the characters are in a good spot, that's also coming from, like, someone who really enjoys story. So, like, when I watch TV series or something that's gone on way too long, I'm like, okay, this totally jumped the shark. They're just milking me for cash. Like, The Walking Dead, I feel like, is one of those. But that's just, like, the first one that comes to mind. It's like the story could have concluded a long time ago. But if it's something like a fighting game or something that doesn't have a lot of story, I get why they have freaking Street Fighter 17,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so how many different versions of Street Fighter 2 were there? That's a pretty good example.
Also, I don't know if you want to mention this now or later, but, like, do reboots and, like, spin-offs count as, like, revitalizing the series? Does that make it not dead? I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I think about I think about Spyro a lot. That's kind of a blurry line for sure. Like, I didn't write down anything that had recently gotten a remake or a remaster. But I think you could make that argument. Like, I think Spyro is a good example. Like, that was completely taking 3 beloved games from the ground up, just remaking them entirely. It wasn't just a reskin with HD graphics. It's like people who played these games would have a different experience on this brand new remake here. I don't know. I think you could say that a franchise is not dead if it's been remade, But
Mm-hmm.
as far as like a remaster goes, where they just take it and make the graphics better, I'd probably still call it dead. If you gave me Rayman 2 right now with better graphics, I'd say, yeah, we still have not had a new Rayman game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what do you think about like collections and stuff too? Like they still want to milk the IP, but they don't want to make a new one. Does that still make it dead or no? Like
I think,
what if they did a collection but they like add something else? Like they add like a new story or like new multiplayer aspects. What do you think?
oh man, it gets blurry there. Straight ports in a collection, I'm going to say it doesn't count. And I would probably say it still doesn't count if they're not making a new game for me.
Okay. I think I agree. Because I'm going to go ahead and preface this. Well, not some, there's only three. One of the games on here may or may not have had a collection release recently that I think does not necessarily mean that the game's not dead. It just means that they're profiting off their old games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
know
an interesting
exactly what
thought.
series you're going to be talking about based off of that. And I was going to mention it upcoming, but I'm going to skip that for you. um,
Thank you.
examples of games that have been revitalized. I wrote down Crash 4. That was a crazy thing where they made the trilogy in, which again was a remake, just like Spyro, but um, Crash 4 came out along with the remake of the racing game, pretty close. I don't remember which one came first. Crash 4 came out though, and they literally called it "It's About Time." That is the perfect way to jump back in to a franchise after a decade or more of it being dead. Um,
That's funny.
Doom 2016 is kind of a weird one because Doom had games up until like the original Xbox and PS2 era, and then they didn't make anything until 2016, and it was like almost a completely different genre. I mean, it was still a first-person shooter, but
Mm-hmm.
it was with a new studio making the game. Um, it's almost like it's probably considered a reboot, but because it still has the same name, Doom, um, I believe it would still count and as a series that has been revived. Similar thing happened with Wolfenstein. We saw Rayman Origins come out in the Wii, PS3, 360 era, and then he
Mm-hmm.
died again a few years later.
Rest in
um,
peace.
yeah, most of the time it's just remakes and remasters these days. We see things like Contra, and
Mm-hmm.
Konami isn't making any new Contras, but they said, hey, way forward, take this game, give it new graphics, bring it to modern consoles, boom. There's a new game for y'all. Shut up, leave us alone.
Nice.
Um, and then as far as remakes go, System Shock is one that came to mind. But what are some examples you have?
The only one that I thought of was Pikmin, because that series, it got 1 and 2 on the
Oh yeah,
GameCube, and then 3 did not come out on the Wii, as I remember. It came out on the Wii U, right?
yeah,
And then it was ported over to the Switch. But then they also got Hey Pikmin, which I believe is a spin off, so I don't know if that really counts as dead or not, on the 3DS. And then they ported 1 and 2 to the Switch, and now we just got 4. So
yeah.
I don't know
I think you
if
could
that
say it was
like
dead after two for sure for a long time
yeah,
there.
and then there was a gap between that and then yeah. So that one was kind of like dragged along for a very very long time, and I guess they were just trying to see how many people still wanted to play it or would buy the next one. But then again, Miyamoto also said that like I think at some point that Pikmin 4 turned into Hey Pikmin, and then people didn't like Hey Pikmin, and then so they started developing 4 again. I don't know. It's very confusing. I'm not a super diehard Pikmin fan, or Pikmin fan at all, really. But I don't know. That's just one that comes to mind. Another one is it Metal Gear that just is getting a collection on the Switch, and it hasn't had like a
Yeah,
new game in a very long time. That's another one I thought of. And then kind of Metroid Prime in a sense. Like they announced it, I think it was not 7 years ago, but a very, very, very long time ago. They announced Metroid Prime 4. Although, do you consider Metroid Prime and the 2D Metroids different series or not? I guess that's a good question to start with.
That is a good question. I think if it's got Metroid in the title, like I'm not counting 2D and 3D Mario as different games, or 2D and 3D Metroid as different games. Like I still think that franchise as a whole is alive if one of those has a game coming out.
Okay, so fair enough. So Prime, I guess, mixed in there with Metroid Dread and everything between that release. It only released like every couple of years. But Prime did get a huge gap between 3 and then 4, which is still not out yet.
Yeah.
So take that with what you will. And then the other one I was thinking of, and I just forgot because I didn't write it down, was... Oh, well, here's a question. What about Mario and Donkey Kong? That game just got a new release, and that game hasn't come out since, I think, the DS, or did it come out on 3DS?
I don't think there was a 3DS one. There was like some Wii U digital exclusive game, but I get your point.
But that
Also,
one
that's a
just
remake.
got... Yeah, I was about to say, that one just got a remake, so it's still not really out yet. It's not completely dead. It's just not alive and thriving, I
Yeah.
guess we could say. But yeah, those are the ones that come to mind.
I also tried to not talk about anything that was like a one and done game because we're talking about series being revived, and if there's only one game, I can't really call it a series.
That's fair. Mine are also all series, just because I thought that would be more fun to talk about, especially because I needed to fill a lot of space. And we got 13 pages.
Okay. Well, I think we're ready to get started, and I always go first, so I'm gonna make you go first.
Okay. You want to guess what my first one is?
I know two of them already. I don't wanna accidentally say one.
Oh.
Tony
okay,
Hawk.
well, it's Wave Race. Oh, no, but that was a good one. No. I tried to pick something I don't talk about as much. It's like Rayman 2. Like, I have so
okay.
many honorable mentions. You guys are going to be like, thank God she didn't talk about those. She just talked about those. So my first one is Wave Race. If you don't know, you must live under a rock or never owned a Nintendo 64, because everyone had this game. It's basically just a jet ski racing game, which I know makes it sound very, very exciting, but I'll explain a little bit later. So there are 3 games in the series. I told you, I think last episode or a couple episodes ago, that I was absolutely gobsmacked to find out that there was one on the Game Boy. I had no idea.
Oh, that's right.
And that was the first game that released in the series. So I always think, when I think
wow.
Wave Race, I think Wave Race 64. But there was actually one that came out on the Game Boy. In 1992, no less.
That's crazy.
So,
I didn't realize that was the OG.
Neither did I. So it's a top-down racing game, obviously, because it's on the Game Boy. It's not going to be 3D. It seems like a pretty standard racing game. The player follows a set track. It's supposed to be on water, but because it's the Game Boy, I don't know if you can really tell. It just seems like a track that you're kind of following. This is the cool thing, though. It supports up to 4 players using the link cable accessory. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
There are 2 modes in the game, race and slalom. In the race mode, the player has to reach certain checkpoints and complete them each lap in time, because there's like a time limit. And then there are 2 abilities in the game, which does not follow over to the other releases. There's a dolphin power-up, which gives the player increased turning ability, which I guess is very, very important. And the octopus, which allows the player to steal from opponents. Very cool.
It's freaking Wave Race meets Mario Kart.
Exactly. The thing that I was thinking of is it's like the Super Nintendo version of Mario Kart. Just think of it like that. Like, yeah, Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo is fun, but it's not like anywhere near the 3D version, you know? It's just kind of plain Jane. It's fun, of course, for its time, but like now going back and playing it after playing Super Mario 64, I mean, not Super Mario, oh my gosh, Mario Kart 64, it's like, it's not as fun. Anyway, there are 16 tracks in this game, 8 for each mode. The tracks include obstacles like buoys, of course, because you're on the water, and jumps that the player must avoid. Players begin at a slower class of watercraft and graduate to faster engines, which I think is cool, as you kind of progress through the game. Also, the game sold well enough to earn a Player's Choice medal.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was
somebody...
thinking. The original was Player's Choice, but I can't imagine being a kid and like finding three other people to play that game with.
No, me either. And I can't believe that I didn't know about it. Not that I'm a Game Boy kid, of course. It's a little before my time, but I mean, I sold well enough to get freaking a Player's Choice medal.
Right.
Somebody's got to know about it. Also, extra super fun fact, it was produced by Miyamoto himself.
Nice.
Super cool. So then the next release, the one that I think about, one that I have most experience with, is Wave Race 64. Obviously, it came out of the Nintendo 64 in 1996. Also produced by Miyamoto. Developed and published by Nintendo. And this one is a little more nuanced. It's not like just regular old racing. They actually have like weather settings, which again will be even more of a thing in Blue Storm, which I'm very interested to talk about because I know we played it. And we're like, what does this mean? Anyway, so while it seems like just a normal racing game, the races in the game are a little bit more nuanced. It's a little more difficulty, if you will, with like the way that the waves come in and how the levels kind of change as the weather changes. So same basic thing is you have to weave through the buoys so it's right. If it's red, it's a right, so you have to go to the right of the buoy. If it's yellow, it's a left, you have to go to the left of the buoy.
Well, that would have been
Like
good
weave
to
in and out
know.
of them. Well, it says R and L on it, but it's kind of hard to read it while you're racing. But yeah, and then the like I said, the game also features like different patterns of waves, ramps, and changes in the weather. It was originally described as F-Zero on water, if you believe that. It was
Wow.
supposed to feature high-speed boats with transforming capabilities, whatever the heck that means. That's a quote. But they were later changed to jet skis because Miyamoto felt that the game wouldn't be different enough from other titles on other systems with speedboats. I don't know
So he
any other
went
game with
with
speedboats.
transforming speedboats.
I don't know what that means. No idea. But also, just a fun fact. So in this game, you're using, I think it's Kawasaki brand jet skis. And because, like, they have ads for Kawasaki and the original Nintendo 64 version. But I think it's what it says. I didn't write it. But when they brought it over to the Wii Virtual Console, they had to take out said banners so that they didn't have to, like, pay for the licensing. So you just see, like, Nintendo Wii advertisements or, like, Mario advertisements or whatever. But then when
Nice.
they re-release it on Nintendo Switch Online, they put the ads back in. So I don't know how that works. They had to pay Kawasaki, like, hey,
You would
you
think
want to be
that
in our game again?
Kawasaki would want it to be for free. It's free advertisement. I mean, what the heck?
See, you think so? But I feel like since they're using their brand and, like, their brand jet skis in their game, that they'd have to pay to license that. But I don't
Yeah.
know anything about IP and licensing, anything like that. But yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. You think it would be free. And, maybe they changed their mind and that's why it was put back in.
Yeah.
Also, the game is actually credited with helping Nintendo developers effectively make the leap from 16-bit 2D graphics on the Super Nintendo to the Nintendo 64's 3D graphics. So I guess whatever developer had made Super Mario 64 kind of helped the team out make Wave Race, because obviously when you're going from 2D to 3D, it's drastically different. So I guess he kind of ushered in like the other developers who were still working on the 2D stuff into the 3D stuff on this game, which I thought was really cool. This was the third game on the Nintendo 64, the first racing game on the Nintendo 64, and the first to use the Nintendo 64's hardware capabilities to, and I quote, create a believable and engaging water environment.
Yeah, I remember the
What?
water looking pretty solid in that game.
Just wait till you get to the GameCube. We'll talk about that in a second. But this game was reissued in Japan in July 1997, called in English Wave Race 64 Rumble Pack Compatible version, which takes advantage of the Rumble Pack and adds ghost functions to the game, or the game's time trial mode, in the form of a dolphin that races along the player and represents the best time on the track. Now, isn't that cute? You get to race
It's
against a dolphin.
iconic.
Mwah. The game reviewed incredibly well, getting lots of 9s out of 10s, lots of 5 stars across the board. The game is also placed in a bunch of review sites like IGN and blah blah blah, all those other review sites of the 90s. Top 100 games of all time.
Wow.
Right? Now, we can talk, I guess, about our experience with Wave Race Blue Storm, which I also didn't know existed until I started collecting video games. I literally just saw it in a Goodwill one day for $3, just in like the little glass case, and I was like, what is that? It looked nothing. The cover looks nothing like a Wave Race game. It's literally just all blue. There's no like jet skis in the picture, no nothing. So I was like, what is this? Brought it home.
It's got like a new logo and everything.
It's like super, I guess, modern.
Edgy.
In quotes, for the time, yeah. But anyway, it came out on the GameCube in 2001. This game is very much the same. You have to weave in and out of buoys, blah, 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 blah. The weather changes. And then it also changes, like, the wave patterns. But it's, like, more important in the newer games than it is in the Nintendo 64 version. Like, I've played that game a gajillion times, and I couldn't have told you that the weather changes or that the wave changes at all. Or maybe I just have played it so many times, I'm like, yeah, this is normal. But anyway, it's much more big of a deal in the other one. So when you're playing the other one, it'll show you, like, when you're selecting the course, also the weather on it. And so when you're doing, like, the races, one day, like, you race one day, one track in one day. So it's kind of like your championship, like, oh, you race this day. Then the next day you race this course. The next day you race this course. But you can change which course you want to pick on each day, depending on, like, the weather. Like, if it's going to be, like, a dark and stormy day, you know that the waves are going to be a lot higher and a lot more aggressive. And so you can choose to pick another course if it's, like, a rainy day, or it's, like, a sunny day. And you can do that one instead, because you know that rainy day is probably going to be a lot harder, a lot more difficult. You're going to need a lot more strategy to beat it. Didn't know that. I didn't remember that setting. I just remember looking at the weather setting, and it's like, yeah, it's sunny. And then we go to the next course, and it's like, yeah, it's sunny. But I guess we didn't play, like, the actual racing. We just kind of played multiplayer, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Also, another, like, the main mechanic in there is passing the buoys on the correct side. Like I said, the right and the left. Will build up the player's turbo meter, which makes him go faster. Stunts can also be performed, which, depending on, like, the difficulty of the stunt, raises your turbo meter either 1/5 to 1/3 of the turbo meter. So I guess more difficult ones, you get 3/5. The less hard ones, you get 1/5. The sequel did not review quite as well as its predecessor on the Nintendo 64, but it still received pretty favorable reviews. The game received lots of 8s and 9s out of 10s, 4 to 5 stars, but nothing like best game of all time, best 100 games of all time. The game was praised for its...
Those are very high still.
Yeah, but it's not as high.
I don't know anyone that grew up playing Blue Storm. You know, everybody loves to talk about Wave Race, but I've never heard anybody talk about Blue Storm.
Me either. I also tried to look up, like, sales information just so I could compare, but I didn't see any. Yeah. If there is any. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but not on the Wikipedia page. But yeah, the game was praised for its realistic physics and water graphics, which we said are beautiful. Some said the controls weren't quite as fluid, as the Nintendo 64 game, and sometimes required a delicate touch, and could be quite twitchy at times. I don't know. I know it controlled differently than the Nintendo 64 version, but I wouldn't say it was, like, twitchy or weird. I didn't notice that, did you?
No, but we probably played for 20 minutes, so...
Well, yeah, but we can't say that the water effect was, like, beautiful. Like, when you're going from, like, the title screen to, like, the character selection, like the jet skiing character and blah blah stat selection, like, it splashes water on the screen, and it takes a good, 15 seconds for the water to clear before you can actually, like, pick anything, so it, like, makes you watch that water. But it is beautiful.
They for sure had a team of 4 people working on that, a minimum of 4 people working on the water physics.
It was awesome. And then as far as my experience, like I said, I grew up playing the Nintendo 64 version. I played that way too long. It's like one of the only games I had for a very, very, very long time. And then it blew my mind that one day, when you pick the jet ski selection, there's, like, There's a guy, there's like a big buff guy, there's like a skinny guy, and then there's like a woman. If you hold the analog stick up, it changes the color. So you can get like the pink, which is like, I'm not really a pink gal myself. But then if you hold it up, it changes to like a really cool blue and like aqua teal. It was like, oh, that's awesome. It's just something so stupid, but we figured it out when we were younger and it blew our minds.
I feel like this game was destined to be an arcade game, and it blows my mind that there's never been an arcade cabinet.
That would have been... Well, that's an idea for a new one. There we go. That would be awesome. I mean, they already have... Is it... I don't know who it is. Is it Namco, whatever, that does the Tropic Thunder one with like the speedy boats?
Tropic
you know what I'm talking
Thunder. About? Oh,
or Arctic Thunder. Arctic Thunder. Hydro Thunder. Yeah, there it is.
I don't think that's Namco. I think that's Midway.
Could be Midway. I don't know. I don't know my arcade games, but I remember those being really fun. But anyway, a wave race one I think would totally fit in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be awesome. Let's see. Oh, also, I know that we notoriously say that we hate water levels, but I think this game is unique in the fact that I don't know any other game at the time that offered this kind of like water experience. Do you?
I mean, Hydro Thunder comes to mind.
But was that on the like Nintendo 64 or PlayStation?
Yeah, it was on Dreamcast for sure. It was in that era.
Oh. Well, I didn't have those. I didn't have those growing up. But yeah, I liked it. And then I was thinking, so what the next game in the entry, or what the next game in the series should look like, I would like to see a wave race game that has, I know this is controversial, I was getting online multiplayer, because that would be fun, of course. That's like a base thing that it needs to have. But I think it would be cool if the game focused more on like watercraft customization and like upgrading it. Like you kind of get the base thing in the game and you just kind of play around those stats because they don't change. But if you could change it, I think that would be awesome. Like,
yeah, if you could
faster,
RPGify it, for sure.
Yeah. Like faster acceleration, better engine. You could change like the color of it. You can change the character that rides on it, blah, blah. All those kind of things are really fun. And then you could also introduce, like I know we had abilities and stuff in the first Wave Race game on the Game Boy. Something like that for Mario Kart. Like, I don't know what it would be. I don't know if you'd like stumble upon a pack of dolphins and then you send them to like totally knock the rider off their jet ski. I don't know, something like that. Something that would add like a fun little party element. It would be fun to play with your friends online. Also, have you ever played ATV Off-Road Fury? I know I've talked about it a lot.
No.
Anyway, so it's like a four-wheeling game, like an ATV game, and it just gives you like one giant open terrain. And it's got like mountains and it like snows and there's like train tracks. There's like a train you can follow. There's pipes and like cool things that you can just kind of ride through, like towns you can go up, water towers that you can ride on, and you can do like a multitude of tricks. Like the whole kind of thing is to like learn the button movements and do tricks, like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, right? You can do all these kinds of like fun button combinations to do tricks. That's like the whole point of it. So I would like to see like a very open, it's obviously got to be in water, but like a beach setting where you can like actually go on the beach and like do like fun ramps and jump like over docks and like jump over boats and like hang out with dolphins, but just like in one open space so you don't have to race anybody. You're just kind of like a free-for-all.
Similar to Tony Hawk, cool. Like doing tricks on ramps and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then, speaking of Tony Hawk, specifically, I don't know if you played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, but the one on the Nintendo 64, it has like a create a park. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like you can create your own skate park.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So you get like this area, and then you can put whatever ramps, you can put like half pipes. I think that's what it's called. You can put like pools, you can put rails, you can put like death spikes where you can die on, that kind of stuff. Obviously, if you're talking like jet skis, it's got to be like a bigger open space, but it'd be really cool to be able to customize like your own area. Like, oh, you can put a ramp here, or you can do like a bigger ramp over here. You can do a ramp such that you can like dive under the water and like go under the beach, or like something really, really cool like that. I think it'd be fun, especially in an era of games like Minecraft or like Super Mario Maker, where you can just make your own stuff. I think people would enjoy that.
Wave Race Maker coming to Switch.
Wouldn't that be fun? I mean, when I think of water racing, it's like, besides Arctic Thunder, which I know we talked about, it's like the only game that comes to mind. I don't know any other ones.
If you
Especially
call it
jet
Arctic
skis.
Thunder again, I'm getting a new co-host.
What is it called?
Hydro Thunder. But
Hydro
also,
Thunder.
as after we were talking about it, like I started thinking, there's like Splashdown. There's like so many on PS1 that obviously was the same era. Like Wave Race wasn't like some, I don't know, it wasn't like some iconic. I mean, it's definitely iconic. I'm not gonna lie, it was super popular, but it didn't like reinvent the wheel, I guess.
No, I'm sure it didn't, but I don't know. I guess maybe I just didn't play that many games in that era, so that's why it sticks out in my mind. But even now, are there any
Definitely
big ones
not
now?
now.
So if it came to modern consoles, I think people would enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, there would be no competition, that's for sure.
I think that'd be fun. So yeah, that's my first one. What'd you think?
I could go all in on like a full campaign with a story and everything. Like not just a Mario Kart campaign where you just like do 4 races, get the trophy. Like, I don't know. They could put some depth in it and make it a full RPG and everything with the stat boosts and whatnot. I would be down for that.
That would be fun. I don't
And
know
it'll
what that
also-
story would be, but I'd be interested to play it.
Dude, obviously you just go the classic anime tropes, you know, dad is dead and you have to live up to his dream.
No!
Yep.
Oh no! I'd play it. I'd be there to play it. What if the guy was raised by dolphins? Like, you know that stupid movie Shark Boy and Lava Girl from like the 2000s? Like that.
I can tell you that if this game were to ever come back, it would certainly not have a campaign. And
No.
the main character would not have been raised by dolphins.
Well, you don't know. That
I
seems
do
like
know.
also a weird anime thing. No, you don't know. Don't crush my dreams. What's wrong with you?
What about a Wave Race 99? You in on that?
Oh! Yeah, we gotta see a freaking Mario Kart 99 first, but yes. Dude, I would fucking crush, dog.
Only dead franchises get 99 versions. Looking at you,
Well-
F-Zero, Tetris, Pac-Man.
And Tetris. Yeah. Tetris, Pac-Man. Oh, you're right. It's like a curse, though. That's funny.
All right, let's talk about Castlevania.
Rayman. Oh.
Yeah, if there's any series I talk about almost as much as Rayman, it's going to be Castlevania, especially the last couple years. Developer
Let's hear it.
is Konami, but Konami is not the only one who has developed Castlevania, and because there's been like 40 games, I'm not going to do what you just did and describe each and every one of them.
Ouch.
But, oh my gosh, you had 3. That wasn't a diss, Hannah. So other people who have developed a Castlevania game, we've got A-Ting, who rings a bell, but I didn't look up their other works. M2, everybody loves M2. Mercury Steam, who I didn't realize they made Castlevania games, or I think they made one, but they've also worked on Metroid games, which is pretty neat.
Oh.
And then Kojima Productions, whenever the Lords of Shadow games came out. Platforms. First game was on the Famicom Disk System way back in 1986, and the most recent new game, not port, not remaster, or anything like that, the most recent brand new game was Lords of Shadow 2 on Xbox 360 and PS3 in 2014. Almost a decade.
Whoa. Definitely dead then.
Yeah, no arguing that. So, as far as genres go, the original games were these action platforming games. You're typically armed with a whip, and you're a vampire hunter with your choice of magic. And you know, the challenges are focused on platforming and killing enemies in your way to face a boss at the end of each level. They're all level based, not much exploration except for the occasional wall turkey, wall meat that you find, and that's
Wild
it.
turkey.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a trope in
Oh.
Castlevania.
Oh, didn't even know.
It's too scary for you. Um,
Yeah, you're probably right.
so that's the first half of Castlevania, and then the second half of Castlevania games, the latter half is Symphony of the Night and forward. We had Metroidvania games, armed with a variety of weapons ranging from whips to swords to axes and all kinds of other stuff. Characters can level up in these games, lots of RPG elements, heavy focus on exploration. Obviously, we all know what a Metroidvania is. And
Do
even
we?
later, less games were hack and slash. You know, the Lords of Shadow series that I mentioned. Those were hack and slash titles for the most part. So yeah, Castlevania's been around, and I didn't even write it down, but there's also a Castlevania fighting game on the Wii. So
Whoa. Really?
they've had
Is
they've
it
had their
good?
fair share of um, genres. No, it's not good. Apparently, it's awful.
Oh, darn.
Story. You're a vampire hunter, and 90% of the time you're on a mission to go kill Dracula. The end.
Wow. You sold
There's
me. I want to play.
there's a massive family tree that fans have made out there of all the different characters that you play as in these games, and like 30 or 40 different Castlevania games. None of them, a very few of them, have you playing as the same character. I think Simon Belmont gets to be in a few different games, and Trevor as well gets to be in a few different games. But for the most part, you're playing as a new guy in a lot of these games.
Which one's your favorite?
I am obsessed with Super Castlevania 4 on the Super Nintendo.
So who's your favorite like main character?
Oh, I don't even know who the characters are. Like, I care so little about the story, dude. I don't even know who I'm playing as half the time.
Oh, come on.
Not even kidding.
Boring.
All right, if I gotta pick one, I'll go with everybody's favorites from Rondo of Blood, Richter Belmont. Super cool guy.
Hmm.
He wears a
Hmm.
it's not a bandana. What do you call it? If he wears a tie around his head. He looks so freaking cool.
You call that a bandana? A headband?
Yeah, I
That
guess.
sounds dorky. That sounds stupid.
You guys have heard me talk about Castlevania a lot over the last few years. It has definitely become one of my favorite series ever over the last 2 to 3 years. I love Metroidvanias, I love platformers, and this franchise happens to have a lot of games that fall under both of those genres. Like I just said, it's like the perfect franchise for me.
Too bad it's dead.
I love the challenge. It's always super rewarding for me to get through a level. Everything feels earned. I adore the music. Everybody loves the music. You can tell the theme and the setting had a lot of love put into them with every single installment. I read on Wikipedia while taking notes that they originally wanted to make you feel like you were playing through a classic horror film, and I think that they certainly accomplished that.
Is it that scary or is it just like thriller-esque?
No, classic horror in the sense that like Frankenstein's a boss and like
Oh,
yeah, like things like that.
gotcha. Gotcha.
Um I often try to save new Castlevania games for the month of October if I can. Usually I can't wait that long, but I'm currently playing through my 14th Castlevania game on the PS1.
Whoa. And do you like it?
I do like it. It's incredibly painful and difficult, and the people who've been watching my streams are just getting a kick out of me dying so much.
That sounds like not my kind of game.
All right, let me quickly fire through the 13 I've beaten. 1, 3, 4, Bloodlines, Castlevania The Adventure, Belmont's Revenge, Symphony of the Night, Rondo of Blood, Aria of Sorrow, Harmony of Dissonance, Portrait of Ruin, and Kid Dracula, the Famicom version, and Dracula X.
Wow. Those all sound like the same game.
um, I also love the freaking animated television shows that have come out on
Oh,
Netflix.
that one just looks beautiful.
Yeah, the studio is here in Austin, Texas, which I just find pride
Ooh.
in, being like 3 hours away. I don't know.
You gonna go visit them?
That would be
Hey
so
man, I like your
cool.
show. Is it okay? Do I have to have known anything about the games to watch it and enjoy it?
No, I started watching the show having never played any of the games, and I loved it.
Oh, well, perfect.
Heck yeah. Um, yeah, the only thing I think I've probably played maybe one franchise more than Castlevania, and that would be Mario. Like 14 games is a freaking lot.
I don't think, besides Zelda, I don't know if I've played. Well, Mario, I guess maybe probably counts because there's so many Mario games. But yeah, I have not played that many games in a series before. I don't think.
Most series just don't have 14 games. It's crazy.
No, they don't. Especially not like all the spin offs and stuff.
Let me tell you what I need from a 2023 Castlevania that will not exist in the next month and a half, 2 months.
All right, I got my notes out. Let's go.
It needs to be a 2D Metroidvania. That's a given. It needs to go back to the GBA and DS days where everyone, literally everyone, loved the games. They all received rave reviews, 80s, 90s plus. Like, they were such high rated games. And like I said, um, I didn't play them until the last 2 to 3 years, so I can't. I'm looking back from like a retrospective, and they still hold up so well,
Mm-hmm.
especially with this surgence of freaking Metroidvania games. Um, they just, I mean, they invented the genre, and they, it's so strange that in 2014 they decided, yeah, we're gonna make a 3D game, and we're not gonna make any more Metroidvania style games for the next 10 years. It's crazy to me.
That is crazy, especially because that genre has kind of like been revitalized over the past couple years, and
That's
like
what I'm
all of
saying, man.
the best games have come out or all been Metroidvania.
Um, I don't even have a lot to say other than that. Like, they don't need to reinvent the wheel. They just need to continue doing what they were doing in the 2000s on handheld. It was gold. Just give us a new Belmont or a new Morris. Give us a new castle with tons of secrets and rooms to explore. Give us another banging soundtrack. I'm literally not asking much, Konami. I know you're listening to this podcast.
Do you want it to be like in the style of the old games, or would you mind like an updated kind of graphical style?
I'd be down for a new graphical style for sure.
Alrighty then. Well, you heard it here first, folks.
I'm trying to think of what I would like it to look like and compared to another game. I don't think I play enough indie games, honestly.
Yeah, I
I don't
assume
know.
you'd still want it to follow like the dark and gritty kind of
For sure.
shadowy, yeah, whatever you would call that. I should definitely follow that. But like, I feel like you could. What about like what if they made a game based off of the anime, like in that style? Would you like that one?
I think that style is just so good. I think everyone loves that style, and I would so be down for that.
There we go. Perfect. That would be fun. But that would be something that you would only be able to play on mobile on Netflix because they own that. And that would just be
um,
terrible.
Honestly, the ports and collections they keep releasing are super successful. Um, I think everybody. I don't know. I feel like they're very successful. They're on all the platforms. They just got the limited run treatments, and people are still buying them like 5 years after the collections have come out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Konami in general just needs to do better with its franchises. Silent Hill, freaking Metal Slug is finally getting something. Not Metal Slug, Metal Gear Solid. Um, yeah, Konami kind of sucks right now, but I think it's highly likely Castlevania is going to be handed over to somebody like WayForward, just like Contra, for them to do a remaster or a remake. I believe something lame like that would happen, and you know what? I would still buy it and play the heck out of it, but I would complain about it for sure.
Well, maybe 2024 is your year. Maybe it's
Maybe.
Konami's year.
I mean, on top of Metroidvanias being so successful, I know those Castlevania shows on Netflix are just freaking killing it. And even more so, they just did that Dead Cells goes to Castlevania nonsense. Like, they're doing something, but they can't just make a new game. I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there at Konami.
Man, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. And that was fairly successful. I mean, Dead Cells is fairly successful. So adding
Right.
something that's also successful to something that's successful seems like it'd be successful.
Something I could see happening is a remake of Symphony of the Night. Considering how much people adore that game. Like, not even just a remaster, but maybe a complete overhaul, new artwork and sprites and everything. Um, that one feels like... That one's up there with, like, Chrono Trigger, which I'm going to start pronouncing as Chrono because I get roasted for saying it a different way all the time. But anyways, Chrono Trigger. I feel like that game is up there, Symphony of the Night, with that game where people think it's a 10 out of 10. It never needs to be touched, and... I don't know. I could see them trying to remake Symphony of the Night, and if they were to do that, I would be down for it. I'm down for anything Castlevania at this point. Like, I don't know. I'll buy anything. I am all in. But if they did remake it, they would need to put a ton of money into it, because if they freaking screwed that game up, they would never get forgiven by the Castlevania community for sure.
Well, like I said, maybe 2024 is your year. You never know.
Appreciate the hopefulness. I do not share that hopefulness.
Well, you know, Pikmin made a resurgence, and Metroid Prime's coming back, so there's hope.
That's pretty much it for me. I think maybe they realize that they peaked with the franchise, and they just can't get any better than Symphony of the Night, and that's why we haven't seen one in 9 years.
Well, that's a sad thought. There's always something you could do. Come on now.
Yeah. You know, when
All
I
right,
went to
well,
Vegas, about 2 months ago, you can see a giant Konami building like from the airport.
That's fun. Did you
And it's
go?
because I don't know if they do tours. I didn't go, but it's because they have so many slot machines. They are huge in pachinko machines and slot machines. Like, that's where they all put all their freaking effort to, I guess.
Oh, man. Well, no wonder why you haven't seen anything. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
You're too busy preying off the poor people who can't get out of the casinos. Ah.
that's right.
Oh.
Thanks, Konami.
Oh. Dang. Well, anyway, you spoiled this one already. You already said it. You want to take a stab at it? What is it?
Tony Hawk.
No, like I said, one I haven't talked about. Spyro the Dragon.
Oh.
This game, well, this series, I guess, has been all over the freaking place. That's kind of why I brought up the reboot-esque, remaster-esque collection. Is it count if it's dead or not? Because this game has had all of those. This series has had all those. It's so many developers, so many different publishers. It's changed hands many, many times, been rebooted several times. This could be like one series where we could do like a whole episode on. It's like that intense. I did not go that deep into the research. I kind of just scratched the surface of it. But yes, I played Spyro when I was younger. I played Enter the Dragonfly on the GameCube at one of my friends' houses like forever ago. The only thing I really remember about it is breathing fire and flying through the air, which I thought was just fun. It was awesome. Then I bugged my parents about it, so they bought me 2 of the Game Boy Advance games, which we'll talk about a little later. So I have not played all of the games. I did not realize there were so many games in the series, but I have very minimal experience. But
Yeah.
I think I played some of the good ones. But anyway, I'm just going to read you some of the developers of the games, because there are so many. So Insomniac Games worked from 1999 to 2000 on it, or 1998, to 2000. Digital Eclipse from 2001-2003, Equinox Digital Entertainment, Check 6 Studios, Vicarious Visions, Eurocom Entertainment Software, Amaze Entertainment, Chrome Studios, Big Ant Studios, The Mighty Troglodytes, Tantalus Media, and Toys for Bob. That's just some of them. I'm pretty sure there are more out there. As far as publishers goes, Sony Computer Entertainment, obviously, Universal Interactive, Vivendi Games, Wonderphone, which I believe is just like the mobile versions of some of these games, Digital Bridges, Vivendi Games Mobile, again, mobile, and Activision. It's been everywhere. It's been handled by everybody, and everyone's put their own little flavor on it.
That's pretty crazy, actually.
And that's just some of them. Like, that's not even all of them. That's just the ones that people would probably recognize. Anyway, so if you don't know, Spyro the Dragon is a fun-loving purple dragon, and he breathes fire in most of the games, and he flies because he's a dragon. All of the fun stuff. It's mostly platforming, although it does get a little more like action-oriented as you go through the series. And mostly, it's just one giant, big old collectathon. So if you like collecting gems and dragonflies and keys and fun things, you're going to love this game.
Yeah, we talked about Banjo a little bit last episode and how I wasn't a big fan of the ukulele, but I do like me some Spyro. It's a lot different than other collectathons.
Well, because you're a dragon who breathes fire.
I don't think that's the reason.
Okay, so anyway, the first game in the series is called Spyro the Dragon, released in 1998 on the PS1, developed by Insomniac Games, published by Sony Computer Entertainment, as obviously it was on the PS1. Like I said, you play as Spyro. He is the protagonist as he journeys across the Dragon Kingdom to defeat Nasty Narc, or Ganasty Gnark if you're one of those people, who has overtaken the 5 dragon homeworlds by trapping the dragons in crystals and turning their gems into a giant horde of minions. So you travel across the world, you collect all these gems and whatnot, kill the minions, and you're also traveling with your sidekick, Sparks, who's a dragonfly, which I just think that's funny. Dragon and a dragonfly going on an adventure.
I don't think I've ever thought about that before.
He's a dragonfly, because, you know, he's a
sure
dragon's
is.
fly. Anyway, the story is super light and super fun. It's not super in-depth. It's very much like a Mario-esque story. Like, oh, you gotta beat the bad guy, blah, 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 collect all these things. The world is also very colorful and very animated. Spyro has, like, a lot of different emotions he goes through. Very fun, very kid-friendly. Like I said, the gameplay is platforming, but there's also, like, jumping and flying, and you can fly from, like, giant platforms to other giant platforms. So it kind of mixes up the whole platforming genre a little bit, because you're a dragon. You know. Let's see. The game started out dark and gritty, taking heavy inspiration from the film Dragonheart, before it was changed to the more kid-friendly approach to attract some of the younger audience that was on the Nintendo 64, because the Nintendo 64 had a ton of more kid-friendly titles. I mean, that's just honest. Let's see. According to the programmer Pete Hastings, one of the creators, also a programmer, obviously, Spyro's name was originally going to be Pete, but they changed the name because it was too similar to Disney's film Pete's Dragon, and they didn't want to catch them lawsuits.
I feel like Pete wouldn't have sold as well as Spyro.
Yeah, it's Pete the Dragon. Yay, everyone's favorite Pete. The name was also going to be just Pyro when it fit like the more dark gritty tone, but that was deemed to be too mature, so they finally settled for Spyro, and thus he was born. He was also supposed to be green, but they thought he would blend in too much with the grass, so they changed him to purple. Could you imagine him green?
He is one
boring?
probs.
Yeah, right. During the development, Insomniac had a very close relationship with the creator of Crash Bandicoot, whose office was literally just down the halls from theirs in the same building. The two developers often played early builds of each other's games, and because of that relationship, a demo of Crash Bandicoot Warped was hidden in Spyro the Dragon, and then vice versa. So you can go to the home screen, or like the title screen, of the Crash Bandicoot Warped game, and by pressing up, up, down, down, left, right, square, at the title screen, it'll bring you to a demo of Spyro the Dragon. How freaking cool.
Dude, what? Imagine being a kid and figuring that out.
Right? And then you're just like, oh, I'm playing a different game. How cool is this? Isn't that freaking neato, though?
I love that.
Also, how on earth did they swing that? Where they're just like, hey, we're from different studios, but like, you want to put a demo of your game in our game? And they were like, yeah, that sounds awesome. But then, like, also hide it so that you have to be like, I don't know, really, really smart to figure it out. I don't know. It's just so strange. That's the 90s.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So this was part of the original trilogy, the classics, as you will, of the Spyro series. So after the release of the first game in 1998, the series received 2 more entries in the series, making it a trilogy, like I said. The second game is called Ripto's Rage, or Gateway to Glimmer in Europe and Australia. How fun.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Gateway to Glimmer. I guess there must have been something called Ripto or something. They didn't want to catch hands. They want to catch some IP lawsuits.
Probably.
But anyway, super fun. Released in 1999, just a year later, the game introduced new characters and new movements for Spyro, including hovering after a glide, swimming underwater. Pfft, I bet that was awful. Climbing ladders, head bashing, and the ability to use power-ups. Very fun. So basically, same formula, just added a few more things. Then the third game in the series is called Year of the Dragon, released again 1 year later in 2000. In the game, the dragons are celebrating the Year of the Dragon, which occurs every 12 years, which is like the zodiac calendar, blah, 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 blah. In which case, dragon eggs arrive in the kingdom. And it's like, oh yeah, they're going to have new dragons this year. In this game, Spyro falls down a rabbit hole after chasing a rabbit who steals said eggs and stumbles upon the Forgotten Realms. Sounds very fun. Very different than the other ones. This was Insomniac's last Spyro game.
Yeah, it's always crazy to think that Crash and Spyro both had this crazy trilogy, was so successful, a PS1 exclusive, and then they both went and, like, I don't know, their rights were given to other studios, and they could just go be made and be, I don't know, destroyed in some cases by other people, and, like, it's very strange.
Change, like I said, put a little flavor on it. Well, they were also, like, PlayStation 1 and era and Sony's like mascots, like,
yeah,
maybe not so much Spyro, but definitely Crash. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Anyway, so after that you have the handheld trilogy, as it's called, which are the games that I played. The first one is Spyro Season of Ice, developed by Digital Eclipse and published by Universal Interactive Studios. It's the first Spyro game to not release on a Sony console, obviously because the other 3 were just on the PS1. And it released on the Game Boy Advance in 2001. And this doesn't make any sense. I try to dive into like the story, so see if this quote makes sense to you. Acts as an alternative sequel to the first 3 games in the series. What does that mean? An alternate sequel? That's the 4th entry.
There's to what?
That's what I'm saying. It's the 4th game. There's no that is the sequel. I don't know, and I don't know if like the story are super related. I didn't look it up, but yeah, I don't know. And these games are an isometric platformer, meaning it's kind of more top down and looks like 3D-esque, very much like the Mana series, where it looks 3D, but it's not really, but you can still jump up and down on platforms and around. So it's a little bit of a departure. The second game in the series following that alternative sequel is Spyro 2 Season of Flame, released in 2002. Very similar to Season of Ice, but in this game the dragons lose the ability to breathe fire and instead breathe ice in the beginning of the game. Fun, mixing it up a little. The controls were criticized for being tricky. There were times when Spyro was really hard to control while he was like flying or hovering over things, and you would just kind of end up in the lava and die. Which was unfortunate. I had that experience a lot. I can't remember exactly what button combination it is, but they were really working hard with all them buttons on the Game Boy Advance. The game was received pretty well, lots of 7.5s and 8.5s out of 10. So nothing groundbreaking, but a fun little adventure. Then the third one, which I had no experience with, didn't realize it was still part of like this series. It's called Spyro Attack of the Rhinox. I think that's how you say it, known as Spyro Adventure in Europe, released in 2003. It's the last Spyro game to be published by Universal Interactive, as that label would be shortly phased out after the release of this game. And it's the last game to be developed by Digital Eclipse, which is, like I said, the one that did all the series. Apparently, this game has more of a focus on the role-playing elements over the platforming of the other two games. You still collect a whole bunch of stuff, though, so don't worry. It's still one big collectathon. This one didn't review as well as the others in the series. It got like 6 and 7s out of 10, so I think that's probably why they're like, all right, pack it up. We're good. We made 3 successful ones. We're done. Again, I didn't see anything about like how many they sold, so I'm not sure. But 3 games in a series, an alternative sequel series, seems pretty good.
I grew up playing one of the GBA ones a little bit. I really don't know which one it was, but it was definitely isometric, and that was my first Spyro. You know, just like you, I was not a PS1 kid.
And it was... I don't remember a lot of the gameplay. I just remember being able to, like, fly from, like, different islands to the other. And I remember collecting gems and, like, headbutting, and I remember the portal system being really confusing. Like, I'm pretty sure I never beat it, because I was so confused. Because you could, like, jump from one portal, and then it takes you to another area of, like, 2D-esque platforming, and then you can jump to another portal, and then you're back to, like, the isometric stuff. So it confused the heck out of me. But I also was really dumb as a child, so I don't know, maybe it's that. But I mean, I enjoyed my time playing it. I think I would probably play it again. Now that I've done all this research on it, I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right, that was a really fun game. But anyway... else? I got some more. You ready?
Yeah.
So like I said, this game's been passed around forever, and I already mentioned this one, but Spyro Into the Dragonfly on the PS2 and the GameCube. There's also, this one blew my mind because I didn't know about it, or I didn't really know the concept behind it, but Spyro Orange, the Cortex Conspiracy. It's a crossover game with the Crash Bandicoot series. It's a companion game, or the companion game to it is Crash Bandicoot Purple Ripto's Rampage. So essentially, whichever one you pick, you're transported to, like, the other person's dimension, and you have to beat, like the bad guys of the two worlds. I can't remember their names. It's Ripto and whatever the other guy, Cortex? Yeah, Cortex. They kind of, like, team up, and you have to, like, beat them together. So you just, like, cross over universes, and you get to play with each other, which I think is super fun.
I feel like that would have been absolute gold on, like, the PS1. Like, it's interesting that even came to be a thing when those developers weren't just down the hall from each other at that point, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so I guess maybe some of the people were the same. I don't know if that's possible, but they had that good running relationship, so they're like, yeah, let's just do it. That sounds awesome. I knew that the two games existed, I just didn't realize that they were, like, intertwined like that, which I think is so fun.
Super fun.
And then, these are a side-scrolling game rather than the isometric top-down view.
Didn't know that.
Then next we have Spyro A Hero's Tale, Spyro Ripto Quest, Spyro Shadow Legacy, and then we get to the final games in the Spyro series, and it's the Legend of Spyro series. So it's, I guess, technically a reboot series, which you're talking about earlier. So since it's a trilogy, there are 3 games. So the first one is A New Beginning, released on the Game Boy Advance, the DS, the GameCube, the PS2, and the Xbox. Did know that. The game focused more on action and combat rather than platforming and collecting like the OG trilogy. The game console version of the game was developed by Chrome Studios and published by Vivendi Universal Games. Also, this blew my mind. The game features voice acting from Elijah Wood as Spyro. Do you know where he's from?
It definitely sounds familiar.
Lord of the Rings. Gary Oldman as Ignitus, which I don't really know him from a lot of things. I know his name, but I don't know his face. David Spade as fucking Sparks. You know where he's from?
Sounds familiar.
Have you ever seen Joe Dirt?
No.
You've never seen Joe Dirt? Oh my god.
I've never even heard of that movie.
Okay, have you seen, what is it? What are the Adam Sandler's adults? Or what is it, grown-ups?
Oh, I've totally accidentally called that adults before, but go ahead.
adults, grown-ups. He's like one of Adam Sandler's like BFFs. I can't believe you've never seen Joe Dirt. Somebody out there knows what Joe Dirt is. Maybe that's showing my freaking redneckness, but Joe Dirt. And then Cree Summer as Cinder. I don't know who she is. Like, she's a prolific voice actress. That game was released in 2006. Then the next game is called The Eternal Night, released in 2007. It's the second game in the series, released for the Game Boy Advance, the DS, the PS2, and Wii. Elijah Wood and Gary Oldman reprise their roles as Spyro and Ignitus. And then Billy West replaces David Spade, aka Joe Dirt. And then Mae Whitman of Avatar The Last Airbender fame, she voices Katara, replaces Cree Summer as Cinder. Then, the final game to ever release of Spyro, Dawn of the Dragon, released in 2008. It was on the DS, PS2, Wii, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. The whole series received kind of like mixed to average reviews, which is probably why the series didn't continue. But again, trilogies, great. After that, just gets a little crowded. Anyway, Elijah and Gary Oldman once again reprise their roles. Then Wayne Brady replaces Billy West as Sparks. And then Christina Ricci of Addams Family fame, she was like the Wednesday in Addams Family, replaces Mae Whitman as Cinder. And Mark Hamill voices the character called Malfoy, the Dark Master. Do you know who Mark Hamill is?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. That's Mr. Luke Skywalker himself. This game is packed with talented voice actors. I had no idea.
That's insane. Me either.
And then if you thought that Vivendi Games sounds familiar, it's because they would later merge with Activision. And then Spyro would become a Skylander and just be infamous in his Skylander toys.
I was so ready for you to mention that.
So, technically he did get a game, but, like, he's still around as a Skylander toy. Like, I guess he has, like, his own little... I don't even really know what Skylanders does, like, what the game is. I know they are, of course, 'cause I see them everywhere, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I could not tell you.
But I know he has one. So that's cool. So, I was thinking long, deep, and hard about what the next entry in this series should look like. And I think it would be really cool if we got a Spyro game for, like, more mature audiences. Like, not like the kid-friendly, colorful, super animated, yay, this is so fun story, but, like, Spyro is a dragon, and he's, like, fearsome, like a fire-breathing, like, death machine, like he's an actual dragon, you know?
Okay.
As dragons are normally presented. So, the setting. The game is set in a world where dragons are no longer seen as noble, benevolent creatures, like they are in, like, the original games, right? Everyone trusts a dragon, it's a dragon. Now they are feared and persecuted with many different clans of the remaining dragons in conflict, fighting for power and resources. The world is in chaos, and a tyrannical power threatens to take it over. Right? This is my pitch. Are you ready?
It sounds like a pitch.
So the protagonist. Spyro is still a protagonist, of course. He's still the good guy in the game, but he looks more like a typical dragon would. Like, fucking Lord of the Rings, or like Aragon-esque dragons, or like Harry Potter dragons, you know, like scary. He's a dragon. He's a battle-hardened survivor of a wiped-out dragon clan who was once the strongest and most formidable clan to ever rule the world, right? They ruled the kingdom until they were betrayed by an allied clan who stole the power from them and slaughtered them. So Spyro is the last remaining dragon, right? In this clan. It's it. He was meant to rule it all, and then his whole clan was killed because he was betrayed. Antagonist. The antagonist
Rated
of the
M
game,
for mature.
Yeah, exactly. The antagonist of the game is a ruthless dragon warlord who has discovered an ancient and dangerous power and believes that only he can save the dragon race from extinction. But at what cost? Spyro believes there is another way to save the dragons that doesn't include killing innocent and non-conforming dragons. Like all the dragons that decide not to go under this warlord's rule, he just slaughters them all. Throughout his journey, Spyro encounters many different clans of dragons. Some are hostile and some are friendly. Like, he can encounter ones, like, different dragon civilizations, like hippie dragons, or, like, pacifist dragons, or, like, super merciful, like, get out of our territory dragons. And then he can also meet, like, other creatures, like just a clan of dragonflies. or like whatever the other cat-like creatures are in the Spyro games. You know, he can make allies all over the place. Doesn't that sound exciting? And it can be like gory, like he can rip other people to shreds, or like aerial combat where he's like fighting all these dragons in the air and like rips their throats, or like breathes fire and chars these dragons. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Can I be
mature.
Activision in this role-playing exercise?
Yes, please.
No.
No! Why? Dang it. Man, I thought I killed that.
No, you killed it. It sounds freaking awesome. It'll never happen, but it sounds pretty freaking dark.
Well, I was thinking about how Lies of P, which is like the Pinocchio-esque game, like Pinocchio is such a fun, loving character from Disney, but then like they made this dark, I don't know if it's dark and gritty, but it's not like the kid-friendly-esque kind of game.
I like it.
But thank you. It could also be like Legend or the Dragoon series, whatever what it's called. Panzer Dragoon series, you know? How there's like combat and flight and all that kind of fun stuff. Something like that. Like a mixture of all the two. And then go like really deep into like RPG elements and like combat. Like it's not a collectathon.
Right. You know, he looks pretty
That's my pitch.
Freaking medieval in those Legend of Spyro games. Like, I can think of one cover where he's like flaming down and flying. Like, he looks freaking evil.
See? I agree. I don't know if those games are any more like mature or kid friendly. I'm not sure because I haven't played them, but the covers make him look like a badass. Why can't we get like an actual badass game?
Honestly, I think one or all of them is rated T, which is crazy to think about.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, there we go. We just need a rated M. We just need to cross that line from T to M. That's my pitch. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Good job. I like it.
Thank you.
Have you already emailed them, or?
Yeah, well, you know, I just don't know how to word it yet, you know? I've never really written, like, a pitch before.
Well, not to worry, because they are listening to this podcast.
Thank you. I think so, too. All the developers are, right?
You can reach out to her at GameGirlAdvanceSP on Instagram.
Thank you very much. Or at gmail.com.
Is that it for old Spyro boy?
That's it, unless you want me to go into another pitch.
Let's get into... Okay, this is from Shigeru Miyamoto, and it's a dead franchise, and it's not Pikmin. What is it?
Hold on. I didn't know there'd be a pop quiz. Hold on, let me think about it.
3, 2...
is it F-Zero?
I don't know if he made that. It's Star Fox, because I don't give a dang about F-Zero.
Oh, dang. You even asked me about this one, too. Darn it, I failed.
Oh, I totally did. Yeah, so I wasn't sure if this would count, because it's only been 7 years, but you know what? It freaking counts, audience.
I think so. I feel like if a game hasn't eclipsed any sort of announcement or, like, teaser in 7 years, I feel like you're good. It's dead.
Alright, so developers, obviously Nintendo. You got Nintendo EAD and EPD. You have Argonaut, Rare, Namco, Q Games, and Platinum Games.
Whoa, not Platinum.
Platinum. So I don't know any franchise that's had like 7 games and like 7 developers. Like, that's insane to me.
Spyro.
It just gets tossed around. Yeah, Spyro's a good one. What is Star Fox? It is an on-rails shoot-'em-up for the most part. Think Panzer Dragoon, since Hannah thinks people have played that game. I'll go ahead and mention Panzer Dragoon as an example. And to give you and the audience a little background, I know you've never played the games. I think you've never played the games.
Nope.
Star Fox and Star Fox 64, they were well regarded, especially 64. Like, if you take a poll right now on what the best game in the series is, 64 would no doubt win. That's being objective as heck. Like, people love that game. These two only took place in vehicles. They were in your R-Wing, which is your ship, the infamous R-Wing ship. And then in 64, you could play in this little tank, which was called the Landmaster, where you roll around on the ground. Pretty neat stuff, pretty innovative stuff. Star Fox 2, which I'll mention real quick, was never released, but on the Super Nintendo Classic in 2017, they finished the game, whatever they had to do to it, which was probably not much, and they just threw it on the SNES Classic, which was super cool. That is technically the last Star Fox game we got. I'm going to mention it now because it's an SNES game. I don't know. It's kind of a weird one. Then came Star Fox Adventure. People liked it, but everyone knows the story. It was a 3D action adventure game, reskinned late in the development cycle, and Miyamoto was like, hey, that looks like Fox. Let's make this a Star Fox game.
Dinosaur
developed
Planet.
by Rare.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And because of that, the flying stuff is an afterthought. 97% of this game takes place on foot. I calculated it. Don't ask questions.
Right?
Star Fox Assault followed that game up a couple years later. Was the best of both worlds, where you played some missions on foot as a third-person shooter and some missions in the R-Wing. And it was pretty well received.
All right.
Following that up was, I guess, the first swing and a miss. Star Fox Command was a weird DS title that kept the core shooter gameplay where you fly around in the R-Wing, but in between levels there were these strategy situations where you had to choose where your fleet moved to. I've tried to, like, on 2 or 3 occasions to play through this game. I get super bored super quick. This one had below average review scores, and it was on DS. Yeah. Star Fox Command's a weird one. I think that's the one that was developed by Argonaut, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that might have been Q Games. Anyways. Yeah, and then we had Star Fox on the Wii U, which was 2 games, sort of. We had Star Fox Zero, which was all vehicles, including some new ones. There was no on-foot, no third-person shooter, anything like that. And then that game had 7s and 8s across the board. But it felt like the audience really wasn't a fan, like, from what I could tell. I just remember that game getting a lot of hate, and a lot of the reason was, like, the mandatory use of the motion and the Wii U gamepad. Like, people weren't a fan of it.
I remember that game being like $1 at GameStop for like the longest time. Like, well, we don't want these anymore. Especially when it got split up from like the fun cardboard little pack that it came with. Like, whatever that extra game was like 99 cents. For the longest time.
Yeah, that extra little game that Hannah can't even remember the name of is Star Fox Guard, which was definitely meant to be packaged in, because it is not a full game on its own. I mean, it's not a $60 game on its own, I should say. This game was basically a tower defense minigame sort of thing that somehow got its own separate disc, and it's a full game. You can beat it. I remember enjoying the little I played of it, but it is like, it's not even classified as a spin-off in my mind. Like, it is a straight up minigame almost.
That is such a weird thing for them to package, create a nice cardboard case that they both go in, package it in its own thing, for it to be a minigame. Like, why couldn't they just put that on the title screen?
It's, looking back, it's like, why did that get its own disc? That's very strange.
Weird.
I have no doubt that they lost a large amount of money on that game. Star
That's
Fox
sad.
Zero in general. And then you had people like me who I pre-ordered the heck out of that game. I bought the freaking guide from, I think it's Prima Games or whatever. Like, that was a hardcover guide that I pre-ordered and everything. Like, I was pumped for a new Star Fox. I liked it. It didn't knock my socks off, but I enjoyed it.
I had no idea that you pre-ordered that game.
Yeah, that was, well, I guess it was 2016. Definitely pre-podcast.
Yeah, you hardly ever pre-order any game. That's weird.
So my other experience, I guess, to talk about my experience, I grew up playing Star Fox 64. Huge fan of it. Played it with my uncle. and we used to love playing it together. Like the single story campaign, we would take turns play through that. I used to be able to run through the game like it was nothing, and then since I've gone back as an adult, I've realized it's not as easy as I remember. That's not an easy game.
Huh.
Probably a year after I got a GameCube, I got Star Fox Adventures. It became a huge deal for me. I remember not being old enough to play T for Teen games, but my dad made it happen for me.
All
I
right.
remember him. I remember him saying my mom would be cool with it as long as we also bought Tetris Worlds, so she and I could play that one together.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Something about moms and Tetris.
Hmm.
As a kid, I did not care a whole lot about how different Adventures was from the N64 game. Um, Looking back, that was an insane shift. Like, I can see why it probably made a lot of fans upset. If that game came out when I was an adult, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much as I did. Um, yeah. I didn't play another Star Fox until I was in high school. A classmate actually let me borrow Star Fox Assault. Turned out to be an awesome game. And then I got Star Fox Zero Day One, like I said, and I enjoyed it.
Huh. What's Assault again?
That one is like the best of both worlds. You play as a third-person shooter, and you also get to fly around in the R-wing
Gotcha.
on the GameCube. Um, yeah, that's my experience. So, a new Star Fox in 2023. This is the one I think. I don't know. I can't believe it doesn't exist. But open world or like open galaxy is more like it. The R-Wing could be like your means to travel to various planets in the Lilat system. These There would be enemies along your path and asteroids that you would have to dodge, and you could unlock fast travel once you've been to a planet once, but like in Star Fox 64, dude, there was like 20 planets and there were multiple paths to get to the final boss. And they could totally bring all of those planets back and make them like vast and full of life. Um, you could totally land your ship and just like have spots, make it like a full on open world. Just land your R-Wing, go meet the townsfolk wherever you landed. Go do like full on missions that take place on foot. You know, let there be some third person shooter sections, let there be some R-Wing missions. I think doing the whole best of both worlds thing could be really awesome for Star Fox. I could see this being a massive AAA title from Nintendo that could actually do really well. Despite no, like probably half of the Switch fan base never even hearing of Star Fox before outside of Smash.
Right.
I would really want to land my R-Wing on a planet, go talk to the locals, and just have like this entire Star Fox universe be built up like never before. Almost every game in the series has been level based, and I think it's time that they make an expansive campaign where I can literally fly through the galaxy. Like, how does that not exist already?
Well, it sounds to me very similar to Starlink Battle for Atlas because you could play as Fox in that game. You've had like the little, I don't know, Toys to Life little attachment thing. You could like go to different planets and study like the local flora and fauna, which is fun. But then also like, is it Outer Worlds that is by the same
Yeah.
people as Fallout, where it's like you kind of explore these all like space and the planetary junks like that.
Yeah.
It's like a combination of those two games. I think that would be a lot of fun.
It's not like we're talking about some small indie developer. Nintendo's got the money to make something like that. And I'm well aware that nobody knows who Star Fox is, but I think that could be a new, I don't know, a reboot, if you will, of the franchise. I could see it doing super well.
Are the Star Fox games like super story heavy, like super story driven? Are they connected at all?
I don't. I would say yes, they are pretty story driven. I don't know if they're connected a whole lot. There's definitely recurring characters, and you do fight the same boss in every game. Um, I don't know how connected they are, though.
Then I think a reboot would be perfect. But I think Nintendo doesn't really have a lot of like futuristic, like space adventure games. I think that would be a departure from the normal, but I think it would be a lot of fun. I think people would be interested in that.
It's like Starfield meets Nintendo. Honestly, your reference was probably a better one. I think the Outer Worlds was a good connection there.
Thank you.
If they had a more powerful console, this could be like a really awesome and mature Star Fox game. It definitely wouldn't be geared towards the younger crowd. Um, I don't know. Good thing Nintendo and Miyamoto are listening to this. I'm just putting ideas in their head.
You're right. All the developers are here. Welcome. This is a safe space for everybody. Like T for teen. We could rate it T for teen, right? It doesn't have to be mature.
Yeah, I mean, I was using the word mature, but I would be down for it. Like, I don't need a bloody, gory Star Fox game. It just wouldn't be the kid-friendly Mario crowd.
Right. I think that'd be fun. I think there's definitely a market for that, especially like the space adventure stuff. That's like super in right now.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for my final one?
Yeah, man.
You want to take a stab at it?
I do know what this one is.
Bring it on.
It's Guitar Hero.
No, it's not.
What the? I literally didn't pick Guitar Hero because I thought you were going to take Guitar Hero.
No, I'm sorry. It's something else. Well, Guitar Hero's good, but like, what can you say about it? We talked about it last episode a lot.
Screw it, Hannah. Just tell me your freaking third one.
Well, we'll pause right here. You delete whatever your third one is, and then you do that one as your third one.
I might just do Guitar Hero as my third one on the spot. My third one is trash compared to Guitar Hero.
Oh, okay. Well, you want to pause?
No, just go.
Okay. So my third one is the 007 series.
Oh, I like that.
I don't know if this technically counts, but I feel I'm going to make a case for it, okay? So, like Spyro and like Star Fox, this IP has been passed around a gajillion amount of times. Some of the publishers include, and developers, Parker Brothers, I guess, Mindscape, Domark, Nintendo, EA, Activision, MGM Interactive, and then IO Interactive, which we'll see if that's actually the case. As far as platform goes, this one blew my fucking mind. It's been all over on all sorts of platforms since the 80s. So I thought, in my mind, it started with GoldenEye. That is not correct. It started like 15 years before that.
I definitely cannot name a 007 pre-N64.
Well, you're about to hear a whole big story about it because I fell into a rabbit hole. As far as genre goes, most of the games that we know are either first-person or third-person shooters, but there are also some text adventure and action games that I didn't know about. As far as story goes, it's always kind of the same. I don't know if you've ever seen any James Bond series, but James Bond, he's a spy. He works at the MI6, right? He's like a covert guy, and he must stop the bad guy from doing whatever he's going to do that's going to harm the world, right? He's going to blow it up. He's going to set off some cataclysmic event. He's got some super scary death ray, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? And your whole thing is you have to stop him from this devious plan. It's like all or nothing. It's like either you lose and the world's destroyed or you win and you save the world. All in. So the first game, technically it's an unofficial release, but it's still kind of like, I don't know, it's the 80s, There were a lot of rules back then. So the first one is called Shaken But Not Stirred, which is a reference from the movies. Anyway, it's the first game of the series, like I said, unofficial release, called Shaken But Not Stirred, and was released in 1982. Yes, can you believe it? So this game was
what is that?
It's a text adventure game developed and published by Richard Shepard Software, back when you could just name a company after yourself and tag on the word software. It's the 80s. So it was released in the UK for the ZX Spectrum, which I had no idea what the heck that is. Basically looks like a fancy schmancy keyboard.
They will end you if you say ZX. You have to say ZX Spectrum.
No, it's a ZX. That's America. Howdy. It's really called a ZX. You know what? Maybe I have heard of that. Now
ZX
that you
Spectrum.
said that. Okay, it's a ZX Spectrum. Which is an 8-bit home computer. Like I said, it looks like a fancy schmancy keyboard. But like each key has like 5 different functions. So I watched a video on it just so that I could be super duper accurate. So the one key, like the X key, can type the letter X. It can do the pound symbol if you click like shift or control, whatever the hell the other key is. It can also function as a clear button, etc. It's got tons of things. You can hook this bad boy up to a compatible TV and play video games, program, write code, and type, of course, because it's a keyboard. So back to the game. The story of the game is James Bond must prevent a plot by Dr. Death, who threatens to destroy London with a nuclear warhead unless he receives a ransom. So gameplay. Like I said, this is the 80s. It's a text adventure game. So basically you're just reading a whole bunch of text and you see like these really pixelated like pictures, right? They're not very detailed. You're mostly just reading text. So the first thing you do is you pick a mission and then you're briefed on what you're supposed to do in said mission. Then you are shown the weapons that you can pick from. You can only pick a few. Like there's guns, there's like covert watches, there's like a rifle, there's like a knife. You can only pick a select amount of weapons before you go, and they can only be used a select amount of time. So once you're out of weapons, you're kind of screwed. You pick your weapons, then you choose a location in which you want to start your mission, and you just type it in. So like it shows you a whole screen. It's like Moscow, Paris, London, Los Angeles, blah, blah, blah. It gives you like a whole list of all the places that you can go, and you literally just type it in. It's like, where do you want to go, Mr. Bond? And you type it in. And so the whole goal of the game is to gather clues in the form of anagrams to help find Dr. Death's secret island base. And you're supposed to type that in. So once you go to a bunch of places, it'll be like, for example, I want to type in, my location is Rome, right? So I type in Rome, and then the prompt says, like, whilst in Rome, you find that a vase of flowers has been placed in your hotel room. You suspect it might be a bomb. And at the bottom, it'll say, what are you going to do, 007? And you can type in a response like, examine the flowers, or defuse the bomb, or like whatever it is. Obviously, it can't be like, well, first I'm going to throw the flowers out the window, and then I'm going to check to see blah, 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 blah. It's the 80s, you have a set prompt. I don't know how sophisticated your answers can be. Obviously, it can't be like a paragraph long. I won't be able to like comprehend that. But if you use like simple words, it gets it. And after you type that in, the game could say like, oh, you found a note in the vase. And the note says the letter A, which is part of the anagram for your destination of the secret base, blah, blah, blah. And then it'll bring you back to the where do you want to pick? Like, where do you want to go next? And you type in another location. And then it says, oh, you encounter, I can't remember his name. You encounter one of Dr. Death's minions, blah, 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 blah. What do you want to do? And it's like, it gives you an option of your weapons. And it says, what would you like to do? What would you like to use? And you use a weapon. And then you kill the guy, right? It's like, oh, you defeated blah, blah, blah. Another victory, Mr. Bond, blah, 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 blah. So you just keep going through that until you collect all the letters, which an anagram is like the letters in a word all mixed up, so you don't know what it is. That's what an anagram is. And you have to solve said anagram. And I noticed when watching gameplay of it, you die like so frequently, and then the clues kind of like reset, kind of. I don't know how accurate it is, but I'm pretty sure that if you die, the clues are reset. So if you go to like the same place, it's going to give you a different prompt, and it might give you a different letter. Or you might face somebody different. Whatever that is. I don't know how random it is, but
yeah.
Like I said, it's the 80s. And then there are certain places where you get like a cipher, and it'll give you like a bunch of different letters in a row, and you have to like count the number of letters, and that's what the destination is, how many letters is the destination, all that kind of stuff. So you have to like actually use your brain a little bit. Like it's not going to give you the answer. You still have to use your brain. And then once you figure out the location of the island and you type it into the where do you want to go, the prompt where do you want to go, it takes you to an island, which is the secret base. And then this part is like mapping out this island, which changes every time you die. So it's like it'll give you, okay, you're on the beach on this island. Do you want to go north, south, east, or west? And you type north, or N for north, S for south, blah, blah, blah. And you can either, I can't can't remember all the locations. There's the sea, and if you go into the sea, you're obviously in the sea. You have to get out of the sea. There's nothing in the sea. You lose a health point. And you start off with 100. Then if you move east and you stumble upon a scorpion, then you got to fight the scorpion. And if you don't win the scorpion, you lose a bunch of health. And then there's like a forest area where you're like, I can't remember the enemy that you're fighting. There's like a cow or like a bull or something, or like a lion that dodges at you, and then you have to find the secret location. You have to map around the island by north, south, east, or west, so you don't end up in the sea, you don't get hit by anything, you don't lose all your weapons, you don't die, to find the secret island. So it's like, like I said, you have to use your brain. It's not just super easy. And then right. I did not, because I kind of want to play it. It looked really, really fun. I didn't get to like the final part, because like if I want to beat the final boss, I want to know how to beat it by myself. But just expect to die a lot and to type really, really simple prompts into like what you're supposed to do.
You want to play a ZX Spectrum game from 1982? Episode 44, here we come.
It sounds fun though, doesn't it? Like the fact that it was so sophisticated enough for you can type in whatever response you wanted and it would spit something out. Even if it was like, hop on my kangaroo and walk out the window, obviously it's like, the else statement is like, oh, you missed a vital clue, try again. Or like, where do you want to go? I don't know, it just sounds so interesting to me. Like, if your answer isn't this, or this.
I'm not going to deny that it sounds awesome, and I would love to experience it. I'm just surprised that you find it interesting.
Well, I have a soft spot for 007 games. Or just 007 in general. Because I watched all the movies. I've watched them all. It's like a series that me and my dad and my brother like to watch. So I have a soft spot in my heart for it. But I don't know, it just sounds fun. It sounds like something I would like.
Well, I appreciate the history lesson.
Well, there's more, don't worry. So the first official release was called James Bond 007, released by Parker Brothers, now a Hasbro company that makes Monopoly, Clue, and Scrabble board games.
That's what I was thinking.
Uh-huh. So it's a horizontally scrolling shooter published in 1984 for the Atari 2600, Atari 5200, Atari 8-bit family, Commodore 64, and the ColecoVision. It was developed and published in Japan for the SG-1000, which I didn't know what that was, so I looked it up. It's the first home console manufactured by Sega.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. It was the first game based on James Bond to be given a worldwide release, versus just the ZX Spectrum in the UK.
What year is this one?
This was 84.
Okay.
So, other games in the 80s and 90s include side-scrolling action and text adventure games, which were somewhat profitable, but 007 games weren't really put on the map until GoldenEye, which was on the Nintendo 64. But there's more. So James Bond 007 is an action-adventure game developed by Sapphire. They worked on a lot of Nintendo consoles, including the Nintendo 64, Game Boy, and Game Boy Advance. Their other notable titles were Nestor's Funky Bowling on the Virtual Boy.
Let's go.
Rampage World Tour on the Nintendo 64, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six on the Nintendo 64, and Justice League and Justice for All on the Game Boy Advance. But they were unfortunately dissolved in 2008. So since this game was on the Game Boy, the game was presented in a top-down perspective. Aside from the badassery of like a spy and all his weapons and shooting people and doing blah, 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 there was also a few mini-games in this game which incorporate gambling. Like good old blackjack. And the game was praised for capturing the spirit of the films, and actually gameplay was compared to Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, which blew my mind. Like the most kid-friendliest games, and then like a spy who's shooting people.
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then after this, there was a slew of James Bond computer games that came out on systems like the ZX Spectrum, the MS-DOS, Apple II, Macintosh, and Commodore 64, but, you know, those aren't super exciting. One such game, though, just because I thought it was interesting, is A View to a Kill, which is based on the movie of the same name. There's actually two games that came out with this title. it's not confusing, in 1985. There's A View to a Kill, the computer game, which was developed by Domark. This one was an action game and was heavily inspired by the movie with the same name. Then the other one is James Bond 007 A View to a Kill, which was published by Mindscape and developed by Angelsoft Inc. for the Macintosh and Apple II computers. And this is a text adventure game. So they really did not do themselves a freaking service by naming them the same thing and having them be two completely different games.
Love that.
And then, like I said, GoldenEye 64, the one on the Nintendo 64, was the one that put 007 games on the map. But other titles include Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough, a 007 racing game, which I didn't know about on the PlayStation 1. Had no idea.
Yeah.
I looked up reviews and it's like garbage. They're like, this is so dumb. It looks, and I quote, nasty. The graphics look nasty. So didn't know about that one. Probably won't pick that one up. James Bond 007 Agent Under Fire. James Bond 007 Nightfire. James Bond 007 Everything or Nothing. GoldenEye Rogue Agent. James Bond 007 From Russia with Love, which I recently discovered is a thing. Didn't know that was a thing. And then 007 Quantum of Solace. So now, there's another GoldenEye 007, not to be confused with the one on the Nintendo 64. Came out on the Wii, the DS, the PS3, and the Xbox 360. It's apparently a modern reimagining of the 1995 movie of the same name, and simultaneously a remake of the Nintendo 64 version of the game. The original movie and game featured Pierce Brosnan as James Bond, but in this game they used Daniel Daddy Craig's likeness and voice were featured in this game. So I don't know, it fits along with like the new modern 007 games. They kind of Daniel Craigified it, if you will. To be similar to like Quantum of Solace, which is another game that came out. The Wii version of this game was bundled with the limited edition gold colored classic controller. The Wii controller that you plug into the bottom of the Wii. Do I have it? Yeah, I do.
Heck yeah.
I'm talking about. Yes, of course I do. I didn't know that it went with this game. I thought it went with like a Zelda release, but yeah, I have it.
Oh, so
sure.
You don't have the big box version of this game?
I don't have the big box version. I have the game and I have the controller, but no box.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Then, someone told me on Instagram that it sucks and I shouldn't play it, but it actually reviewed like pretty well. It got a lot of 8s, some 9s, and some 7s, but it seemed like it was pretty good. So I might.
My roommate swears by that game. Like, he didn't have a 360 or PS3 to play the cool kid games, so he was on Wii freaking playing this game online. He swears by it.
That's what I heard, or that's what I read, but somebody told me not to even bother on like one of my Instagram posts, so I was like, okay, guess I won't. Should not have taken his word for it. I should have been playing it this whole time. Some other releases include James Bond 007 Bloodstone. Also didn't realize that was a game until recently. And then the last game to come out was 007 Legends. This game released to coincide with the movie's 50th anniversary. And includes one mission from each of the 6 actors' eras of Bond. So there's Sean Connery.
That's cool.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig. Oh, I can't remember the other ones. I don't really remember the ones as much. But yeah, so it's each one mission. Despite that sounding really, really cool, to me, because of this, a lot of the critics didn't like that it didn't have like an overarching story. Like you're jumping around and there's like different bad guys and different bosses. So it's kind of like really, really random, but at the same time, it seems like just like a fun little collection to like remember all the fun games, 007 games, but I don't know. I'm not a critic, so who cares?
What is that, like PS4?
The 360, Wii U, and PS3.
Wii U? What the heck?
Yes, sir.
I've never heard of either of the last two you mentioned.
This one came out in 2012, so it's been a long time. So it's not a surprise. I did know it was on the Wii U, did know it was on the other systems. But again, I read that it was bad, so I shouldn't pick it up. But it seems like a fun one to have in the collection, you know?
Yeah.
So it's the fourth and final James Bond game title released by Activision, and the last game Eurocom developed before the company ceased operations, and just the last
Yikes.
James Bond game in general. Until recently, GoldenEye 64 was released on Nintendo Switch Online and Xbox's, I don't know if it was Game Pass or like one of their services. Do you remember?
Like added it. They did something with Rare Replay. I don't even remember the details. It's been too long.
It's something like that. But yeah, you can play it on your Xbox somewhere and Nintendo Switch Online. But this is why I didn't know if it qualified. This next thing I'm about to say. Didn't know if this one technically qualified as dead. Because on November 19th of 2020, IO Interactive announced that they were working on the next James Bond game. The working title is Project 007. IO Interactive is responsible for Hitman 3, which is arguably one of the best stealth games of all time. IO said that the game will bring a new, fresh-faced Bond, and it will be an origin story that won't be based off the character in the cinematic universe. It'll be an original story, so it's not going to be based off of any movies, anything that we've seen previously. The game was announced 3 years ago, but we haven't seen anything about it since, which is why I included it as dead, because it's still been 13 years since the last game. Or 11 years, sorry.
Yeah, I agree with that. Dude, we're living in this era where people can just, like, people are buying licenses to make games, and they're not making trash shovelware. Like, we just had Hogwarts Legacy, which I've heard is great. We got a RoboCop game coming out, like, in a few weeks or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there hasn't been a RoboCop movie in decades. And now 007, like, I don't know when the last movie was, but they're making it without any correlation to any movie. Like, that's some exciting stuff right there for you. I bet it's going to be great.
I hope it's great. I mean, it's like I said, it's been 3 years. I know the pandemic probably messed with its plans, which it did a lot of things. But, like, it's been 3 years, and we've seen Jack Diddley Doo-Doo. Like, even the last Bond movie came out, gosh, maybe it was around the same time, actually. Maybe it's been longer than that. Maybe it's been 4 years. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that was Daniel Craig's last movie, which is sad. So I think they're recasting either a new Bond or they're going to do something else. We'll see. But anyway, so I've played many of 007 games. I had no idea there were so many until I started, obviously, researching for this video. But of the ones that I've played, GoldenEye 007 on Nintendo 64, obviously it's classic, it's great. Nightfire, which I think is arguably the best James Bond game that I have played. I've also played Agent Under Fire and Quantum of Solace. The other games, like Bloodstone and Fun Russia with Love, had no idea they existed. The other ones, like Rogue Agent, I don't know. I don't remember what console that's on. It might be on PS3 or Xbox. I don't know. But Nightfire is fantastic. If you're going to want to play a James Bond game, you're going to want to play that one. That one is super fun. Multiplayer is super fun. The missions are all, like, really diverse. There's also, like, there's a snowmobile racing one. There's shooting from a helicopter. You know, you're in space. If you believe that shit, you go to space.
Hey.
There's also, like, stealth missions where you have to, like, use a sniper and get up high and kill a bunch of enemies because you don't have, like, all the weapons that you need for, like, close quarter combat. Oh, it's just so fun and dynamic. It's so great. And, of course, Pierce Brosnan is my favorite James Bond, which I know is probably a controversial opinion, but that's one that I kind of grew up watching first, so I like him the best. He's also the one of GoldenEye, so, you know, I like that look of and style of James Bond. But the next entry in the series, I know you just talked about open world, so maybe it's not as interesting, but I would love an open world 007 game, right? Normally in 007, there's tons of missions. There's like one giant overarching mission, but there's also like other missions that you can do like up to that, to like sabotage Dr. Death's or like whoever the bad villain is, like their plans and whatnot. But I would love for you just to get like one overarching mission and then just be completely free in this open world to complete the missions in any order. And like have it such that if I go and kill like this mob boss or like this bad guy who controls all of these weapons and all of these like airplanes and like choppers and blah blah blah, if I go and kill him, then all of his stuff is like out of commission. Like you can't use that stuff anymore. Or if I go and kill him, like the first thing that I do, then some like bigger and badder evil takes over his spot. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
it's completely dynamic in the choices that you make. And what you do at one thing can drastically change the gameplay going forward. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
It would feel like every gameplay is, like, every time you play it is different. So I feel like it has a lot of replayability.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, it doesn't have to be based off of any movie, because there hasn't been a lot of new movies obviously coming out. So it could just be completely new, completely different. You can add stealth elements, like Hitman 3, people are probably trying to add, like the snowmobile, or like vehicle driving, or like racing, or just like underground cage fighting. Like one of the missions can be like join a underground mission, underground boxing match or whatever, and beat this guy, or don't beat this guy and then follow him, or like, you know what, there's just so many things that you could do, but just complete them in any order would be a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
That would be fun. I would like that. I would play that in a freaking heartbeat.
And you gotta go in outer space.
We gotta go in outer space. You gotta beat that giant laser beam that's gonna beam down on this nuclear reactor that's gonna blow up the entire world. That would be great. Alright, sir, your turn.
Yeah, I can't sit here and argue with you on the best Bond actors or even the best Bond games. My experience with both is minimal. Definitely gonna play some 007, some GoldenEye in the near future.
Gotta play Nightfire too. I know you own it because I've looked at it.
Yeah, there's like 5 on GameCube. That's a lot of Bond.
You gotta play that. It's gonna be fun. I promise.
Well, you didn't let me down with Shrek. What is it?
Super Party.
No. Super Party.
Super Party. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. I know good games.
I'm so tempted to talk about Guitar Hero on the spot right now, but we're going to talk about the one I picked instead.
Okay. Rayman!
Freaking Rock Band. I was like, Hannah chose Guitar Hero. I have to pick this freaking game. Here we go. The developer has been Harmonix with an X. Platforms pretty much every modern console from 2000 to 2015. I don't know why I wrote 2000. Like, definitely was not on PS1 or Dreamcast or N64, but you get the idea. It's a rhythm game. If you haven't played Rock Band, you're literally doing Rock Band-ish things in your freaking living room or game room, singing, playing guitar, playing bass, playing drums.
Oh, yeah.
Rock Band, incredible game. Not as incredible as Guitar Hero, but we got second best here. The games that have released, you got Rock Band 1 through 4. You got the Beatles Rock Band, Green Day Rock Band, Lego Rock Band.
What?
I totally remember Lego Rock Band coming out. I definitely never played it.
I have never heard of that in my entire life.
There was a DS and a PSP one, and there was an iOS or multiple iOS games. I don't know.
Weird.
And believe it or freaking not, apparently one as recent as 2017 came out for Oculus.
What?
So, 6 years ago, Rock Band VR fans were eating good.
Man, that seems really smart. I wonder if it did well. Probably not, since we've never seen another one. You know what? Beat Saber killed it. That's what happened.
VR just is not... It hasn't hit the market yet, you know? It's just not there yet. But I imagine playing drums or strumming a guitar had to have been pretty cool on VR. I don't know. Seems like a really good idea.
That sounds awesome. Or like a drum set, like banging the heck out of a drum. Yeah, sounds awesome.
Right. What is your experience with Rock Band? Have you played the game ever?
I have played the game. I went over to my friend's house, and they had like the whole set. They had the drums, they had the guitar, they had the singing, whatever game where it was like the whole band. And I gotta say, that was fun as fuck. It was like somebody was singing, somebody was jamming out on the freaking drums, someone was guitar. You could pass the microphone to different people. It was a lot of fun. I remember being more fun with friends than it was alone, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I also didn't own the game, and my experience comes from playing a lot of it at a friend's house a street away
Yeah.
from me. Honestly, being an only child makes sense. I never owned this game, right? Like, my parents weren't going to buy me a whole Rock Band set for me, myself, and I.
For one person.
Um, I was the best at guitar because of my hundreds of hours on Guitar Hero 3, but always, anytime I got a chance to play drums, man, I did not give it up. I loved playing drums. It was it was always hogged by other people. Like, if you're obviously at your friend's house and everybody wants to play drums because it's the coolest one, and I don't know, there's just something about it.
Drums was a lot of fun. It was also really difficult though. Like a guitar is like it's just using your two
Yeah.
hands, but the other one is like you got your foot going, you got a whole bunch of things. You got to go in different directions. You had to have a talent to play the drums.
And Guitar Hero 4, Guitar Hero World Tour came out, and they said, hey, we're going to be like Rock Band, and they made a drum set. I never had that either.
Nope, never played that.
But anyways, I think the only Rock Band like game I played was the first one. Loved it. Pretty awesome music choice. But why should this come to modern consoles? Why do we need a new game in 2023? I think that the world might be ready for rhythm games again. It's been about a decade since they were
Yes.
popular.
Yes.
Rock Band 4 actually was, I think, 2015, if you can believe it. It was PS4 and Xbox One. Um, I kind of recall this coming out, but I think 2015 was not a good year. I think people were a decade into rhythm games and they were done. Um,
Not me.
I think yeah, I'm telling you, I pre-ordered and bought the final Guitar Hero before live, and I was one of the only people. Like, there was no way I was going to school and talking to people about Warriors of Rock. Nobody was playing Guitar Hero at that point.
Hey, buddy, you hear about this cool Guitar Hero game? No? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Rock Band, getting a couple friends together on a Friday night to bang through some songs, switching up who plays what instrument, it's just an incredible time, like you mentioned. What would a new game look like? I think that instead of coming with the microphone, one guitar, and the drum set, I think you change it up. You should definitely include two guitars and the drum set. I think that it always sucked when you would go to someone's house and you could potentially have four players, but because the game only included one guitar, like, no one could be on bass. So somebody's always going to be sitting on the couch. I don't know. It's just a missed opportunity every time. I always hated that.
Yeah.
Um, as far as the guitar controllers, I really think that they would benefit from having a new setup, just like GH Live did, Guitar Hero Live did. We talk about this a lot, but we both really enjoyed the 6-button, 3 on top, 3 on bottom design that Guitar Hero Live came with.
Yeah.
And the reason I think they need a new setup is because people could easily, like, I'm not the only one that's a freaking monster at Guitar Hero. I know that everybody played hundreds of hours of that game, and if you just throw the same 5-button gameplay at us with a brand new like Rock Band 5 or whatever, people are just going to go straight to expert mode and fire through the career. There's not going to be any replayability. I think putting in a new controller like that would make people want to start on easy or medium and work their way up, which keeps people playing your game longer, which is always a good thing, I imagine, as a developer, publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Bring in boss fights. I loved that in Guitar Hero 3,
Oh,
where you would fight
the
Tom
devil.
Morello and Slash and Satan. Yeah, I freaking loved it.
I agree.
Emphasize
That'd be a lot of
co-op campaign. Like, there should be a separate campaign. If anything in the world is a co-op game. It is Rock Band. Um, I don't know. I think somehow they would need like a separate campaign for co-op or something. It would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great.
There should be leaderboards. That's an easy thing, but just like make people want to keep replaying the songs to get the highest scores possible. Music choice. I think we just talked about this recently, but as someone who listens to nothing but rock and metal, like I'll say it, rock music is not popular, and no one buying Rock Band wants to play Drake and Beyonce songs. So what's the solution? Classic rock. Same thing they did with all the Guitar Heroes. Same thing they did with Rock Band. Literally everyone likes classic rock, regardless of their music taste. It's all you need. Just keep pulling from that 70s and 80s library, and you'll be golden.
Ooh, I disagree with you on that one. If we're going to bring the Rock Band into it, singing was definitely a part. And I don't know about you, but rock songs are hard as fuck to sing. And they're not really easy on the throat. Fair. So if we're going to cater to everybody, I would definitely have more genre of games. But also you could release it such that like you have one rock game, you have one pop game, you have one like R&B, you have one hip hop. Like you could release different ones like Guitar Hero did. Or now I did not like this feature in Guitar Hero Live, but I think that there is a market for it. I'm not going to spend 99 cents on one song. I will spend maybe $5 on like a collection of songs. Like if you're going to release Rock Band or Guitar Hero with just rock songs, add like a $5 pop DLC or whatever. And I'll go to the store and I'll buy that, and it'll be a collection of like 20 songs, 30 songs. Or like just keep adding more songs to the library, and I think it would keep people playing more. Like you can add new songs, you can add rap songs, you can add whatever you want. That would be cool. And then obviously online multiplayer is a must. I want to be able to play with my friend who lives in Pensacola 8 hours away. That would be fun, and be able to do the co-op career that way. Also, and I just thought of this, I don't know if it would work well or if anyone would want it, but being able to like change the style of your guitar, like being able to change to acoustic and seeing what a song sounds like that way, or like changing it to like a synth poppy vibe, or like whatever it is. I think that would be fun. So you could play all these different kinds of songs in this different style.
Yeah, that adds replayability for sure. That's cool.
And it would just be fun to sing like a classic rock song in like acoustic and be like, what would that sound like?
Yeah.
You'd have to re-record all of those songs, so you'd still have like the track playing behind you, I guess, because that's how like the singing works. But like, I still think that would be fun. I mean, the first Guitar Heroes were all covers, so you could do that.
Yeah, they were.
I don't know. There's just so many things that they could do, and I think people would definitely love it, especially us who are like super nostalgic towards it. Like I would definitely buy a new Guitar Hero or Rock Band.
I think that the nostalgia wave is here for these rhythm games, or it's coming close for sure. And I definitely think that like, as long as you have some kind of storefront with music, like you said, I'm not paying $1 a song, but give me a bundle for $5 or something. Like that's a good way to win for who publishes these games. It's Harmonix, I think, is the developer and the publisher. But anyways, that's a good win for the publisher. That's a good win for the end user. They don't need me to tell them. I know you guys are listening to the podcast, but that's an obvious thing to add. Just keep adding music for sure. I think what I was reading is Rock Band 4 is like the one that nobody played, but you can still go and play that, and there's new music constantly being added. What? And like 7 or 8 years later, this game is still just getting supported, and it's apparently just the best that Rock Band has had to offer. And I've never played it. I've never even seen it.
Huh. I had no idea.
But yeah.
It feels like what Just Dance should be. It's like, no, I don't want to pay $60 for Just Dance 2023, but I will pay $20 for new songs that came out in 2023. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. This is like not a big thing, but I was thinking that instead of a microphone accessory, like you could probably find a way to link your phone via like a Rock Band app. Maybe that would cut the cost down on the complete box for a Rock Band 5. A lot of games use the phone. Like I'm pretty sure Just Dance, you can use your phone as a controller.
It's awesome.
I don't know. Just a thought I had.
Yeah, that would work. I mean, yeah, I think that would work. It would be hard for like the guitar or like any of those other ones, but
Right.
I think that would work for at least a microphone.
Only downside is you have to have space for a drum set, and yeah, my current situation, I definitely could not put a drum set in here. But in a future game room, I'm super down for Rock Band 5.
Yeah, well, most people don't have like a dedicated game room. It's usually just like the living room.
Yeah.
I'm down. I want Rock Band and or Guitar Hero in 2024. Let's do it.
Do you think they would sell?
Sure. Harmonix in it's Activision, right? Are you listening?
Yeah.
Are you listening? Are you out there?
I had 2 honorable mentions. Do you have any honorable mentions at this 2
you know
hour
I
mark?
have honorable mentions.
I
you
just
want me
wrote
to go?
Donkey Konga to go on the Rock Band note.
Oh.
I also wrote Spyro, but you already talked about it. But Donkey Konga, you wouldn't even need a drum controller. Like, you have Joy-Cons, right? So screw the drum controller. It's not necessary. I could see this being an eShop exclusive thing just to, like, kind of try it out for $15 maybe at first. I wasn't even a huge Donkey Konga fan, but I think that they could make this awesome with Nintendo's humongous catalog of music.
That would be a lot of fun. If Nintendo put out a rhythm game, even if it wasn't Donkey Konga, it was just something like, I don't know, Nintendo Musical or something, I would buy it. Just because
Yeah.
Nintendo has such amazing classic songs,
Yeah.
I would buy it.
Donkey Konga 3.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, you ready for my honorable mentions?
Yeah.
So this one, I was really torn. I knew I probably should have done it, but maybe we'll make a part 2 to this video. I don't know. So it's The Simpsons. Like, they had so many games back in like the 90s and early 2000s, and then they just like stopped. Like, I know they had like the arcade one up on with like the Bart game that we played at the Side Arcade.
Yeah.
But that's like an old game that was just kind of like ported to, I don't know, would you consider that a modern console? Whatever the arcade one of them is.
Yeah.
It was that. So the last Simpsons game that came to the console was The Simpsons game. That's what it's called, in 2007.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they had, like, Hit and Run is one of my favorite games of all time. I love that game. Just being able to, like, cause chaos and freaking, oh my god, what is it? What town are they in? Simpsons
I
Land.
don't watch it.
Oh, I almost said
But I
Springfield.
should know the city still.
Is it Springfield?
Yes.
Springfield,
No?
yeah. So just, I don't know, causing chaos in Simpsons Land and being able to freaking drive your car through, like, a crowd of people or just, like, it was so much fun. It was so different from other games that I played. And I think it's held up really well. Also, Road Rage is also really fun. You're also driving around in town and picking up people and doing fun things and doing missions. I don't know why they stopped making Simpsons games. I guess because it's not really a popular franchise anymore, but like the TV series is still going. It's one of the longest running, if not the longest running series of all time.
Yeah.
And also, Universal, I guess, they obviously don't own the rights. Disney own the rights now, but they have like their whole Simpsons land in Universal, and that place is always packed. There's always people there getting their giant donuts and going to the Moe's bar and getting their freaking Duffy beer.
Yeah, that's cool.
So there's definitely an audience out there. Would love to see a hit and run game though. Gosh, that's just so good. Another series that I don't really have any experience with, but I think would be fun to see is the Turok games. I think they just were ported to the Switch not that long ago, or remastered or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That would be fun. And then you mentioned this one earlier, Chrono Trigger. The latest release was in 1999 with Chrono Cross. That's old. That's been gone for a long time. Personal favorite of mine, Pokemon Puzzle League. Love that game. Or just like the Nintendo puzzle games in general. Like Kirby has some, Yoshi has some, Yoshi's Cookie, blah, blah, blah. Haven't gotten a lot of those. Like, I feel like that would be a fun Nintendo Switch Online, just extra bonus.
Yeah, for sure. Or like a cheap eShop game even.
Yeah, just something simple. Then we started playing one of these, but we have not finished it, Breath of Fire. That was a fun, cool little RPG. Classic ones. Breath of Fire 6 released in 2016 on Windows, Android, and iOS. So obviously that doesn't count. We're not mobile gamers here. Or computer gamers. Before that was a Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter on the PS2 in 2002. 20 years.
Dang.
Another one which I talked a whole heck of a lot about last episode, which is why it's not on this list, was Gex, which also just recently was announced by Limited Run Games to be ported to the Switch at some point, hopefully this year, maybe early next year. The last game in the series was Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko, which released in 1999. 24 years.
Sheesh.
Again, another one I talked about, Drakengard 3, Drakengard the series. Drakengard 3 was the last release in 2013. Now, I know technically the Nier series is a part of this kind of whole timeline-esque, but it's not specifically a Drakengard game. It's more like a spin-off of the alternate ending of one of the games, so take with that what you will. But still, 10 years, that's a long time. F-Zero was one that everyone talks about, and then, of course, we already talked about Guitar Hero. The other ones that I have is Fable, because that one was cool, being able to, like, choose if you want to be a good guy or a bad guy. That was a fun concept. And then we did the Alphabet games, and I said that Fire Emblem Awakening was my game for F, but I take that all back and shun that game, and I'm going to say that the Fate games are my F games. Do you know what those ones are?
Fate? No.
So, when you, back in like the 2000s, and I guess the 2010s, early 2010s, when you bought like a new Dell computer, you got like the online games webpage thing, and you could download a Fate game, but you could only log into it like 3 or 4 times before it shut you off because it was like just like a free demo. So every time I got a computer, which was every couple of years because I fucking got so many viruses on them, it was not even funny. Just doing all the sketchy things you're not supposed to do. Anyway, so I would log onto this game and then never log out because it was free by Wild Tangent Games. Anyway, it's like a dungeon crawler, but like you can have a pet, you can customize your character, you can beat all these kinds of monsters, and you get all these cool things, and you can like build up your character and make them super duper strong. I wish it were online, I wish it were multiplayer, but those games were awesome.
That I'm sure somebody in the audience connected with that. I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's just another day for me. But yeah, those games were awesome. I wonder if someone had the same experience as me. But if you do know, if you know, you know, but like the cheese hat, awesome.
That's it?
That's it.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Let's talk listener responses.
Yes,
I got a few from Discord. Not
Bring
that
it
I
on.
asked the question. We got a few from Discord. All right. Daily Beating said Sonic Adventure, and immediately that was the first response we got on Discord. I was like, this is gonna go the wrong way. That's not what we meant. But I don't know. In a sense, Sonic Adventure is a franchise, but yeah, Sonic literally got a game last week. Kind of counts, kind of doesn't count. Cosmic said the legendary Starfy. I'm pretty sure there's 5 games, maybe 4 or 5 games total from Japan, and we literally only got 1 over here in North America. You also asked So you said, what is a video game series? I didn't even ask the question, my bad. What is a dead video game series you want to make a comeback? And there was a bonus question. How many years have to pass before you can call a series dead if there are no new releases? Cosmic said 5 years with no word, 10 years with no new releases before a series is dead. But I know Metroid Prime and several other games would break the rule.
That's true.
I was thinking, I meant to bring this up earlier, but Fable is definitely, I'm pretty sure they're making a new Fable.
Oh, are they really?
I think so.
That's fun. Or is it one of those things that was announced like 3 years ago and then we haven't heard anything since?
I think it's been a year or two, but yeah. Al says, I'm not sure if this counts, but Pokemon Ranger, some of the best Pokemon games by far.
There we go.
Any experience with the Pokemon Ranger games?
Nope, not a one.
I have never played Pokemon Ranger either, but I know that there are a lot of people who love those games and would love to see a comeback.
That would be nice.
Dan Evil Robot said Eternal Darkness. I recently dove into that one. That was a heck of a game.
That's on the GameCube?
Yeah. He said the original developers who made the first game were trying to make a sequel comeback from a Kickstarter campaign, but they didn't get enough funding.
Darn.
I feel like you don't hear about stories like that a lot. It's usually like, yeah, we were trying to get this much and we got like 10 times that amount.
Yeah, the support was overwhelming. Oh my god.
He also said The Legend of Dragoon, which was a PS1 game. He said it came out at the wrong time and it cost like $16 million to make and only sold 1 million copies.
Goodness gracious.
And he also brought up Turok, because the last one was in 2008, like you said.
Ah, here we go.
What did the lovely people of Instagram have for us?
We have so many, it was crazy. I got like 10 within the first 15 minutes of posting this on.
Hot topic.
I know. I think we should do a second episode of this. But anyway, we have More Bros who says Gargoyle's Quest / Demon's Crest.
Shout out to More Bros. That dude is always hyping up the Unlockable podcast.
I agree. He's the bestest. Shout out to you. And then let's see. We have X Stormy Cat X says Blood Dragon Far Cry 3 spinoff.
Oh my gosh. I just connected the dots. There's like this freaking show that just came out on Netflix. Have you heard of this new Netflix show with Rayman featuring in it?
No.
It's ridiculous, but it's called... Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's called Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix. I never realized Blood Dragon was like a Ubisoft Far Cry thing or whatever they just said. That just connected the dots. Anyways, please continue.
Interesting. No, I've never heard of that. Then we have, designed by Ampersand, says Pokemon Pinball. That would also be fun. I categorize that in like the miscellaneous puzzle games, but I know it's not really, but it feels like it belongs there.
There's also a miscellaneous pinball section of Nintendo.
Right. Okay. Then we have J.W. Jax the Third. I don't know if it's actually that, but it's got 3 eyes at the end. Shining Force. That's a good one. I feel like the Shining Force is also Dragon-esque, I'm pretty sure, unless I'm speaking out of my butt here. There was one that released on the Switch, like, near launch time. I know I have it, and I played it, and it was, like, dragons and music, but I don't know if it was a port of one or if it was new. It was probably a port. So I'm sure it's been quite a long time since the Shining Force game came out.
There's no way you're thinking of the right game right now.
Really?
Yeah. Shining Force is like a classic Sega Genesis series. It's RPGs.
Yeah. I still think that's it. I could be wrong.
Maybe I'm the wrong one. Oh, Shining Resonance just came to Switch, apparently.
Yeah. Is that not a part of the same Shining series?
You know what? You're probably right, Hannah. I think it is the same series.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take that one. He also says Golden Sun, which is another one that I think people want back.
For sure.
Only One Calorie, BFF here on Instagram, says Kid Icarus. I love the silly tone in the loosely obeyed Greek mythology theme. Agreed. I want to play, what is it, Uprising? Kid Icarus Uprising? So bad.
Yeah.
On the 3DS, but that copy is so darn expensive.
Interesting. Didn't know that about you.
Yeah, because there's only 2 Kid Icarus games, right? There's regular one on the NES and then this one. And
there's also a Game Boy one, but yeah.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, that one too. But anyway, they always look, the one on the 3DS looks so fun, and I've heard such great things about it, and I want it to come to the Switch so I don't have to pay for it on the freaking 3DS, but I don't know, it just sounds like such a fun one to play.
I agree.
Then, wow, Shadow _the _hobbyist has so much to say. He wrote so many down. He's got three entries, so get ready. We have Fear Effect, NBA Live, Phantasy Star, Mega Man, Marvel vs., Shinobi, Final Fantasy Tactics, Gravity Rush, Ridge Racer, Perfect Dark, Bloody Roar, Virtua Fighter, Golden Sun, Splinter Cell, Metal Gear Solid, Sly Cooper, Infamous, NHL/NFL 2K, Wario Land, and Sleeping Dogs.
Holy cow.
He's got all of them written down.
That is actually a good point. I have not. There's a lot of good points in there. We haven't seen Wario Land since like the Wii, maybe. I thought that was a pretty popular little Wario series. That's crazy.
I guess WarioWare took it over. Now that one's a popular
Gravity
one.
Rush is a great one. I know a lot of people would love to see a sequel to Gravity Rush 2.
I would love to see that ported to the Switch. It's been long enough, right? Bring it over.
I played the first one. It was a good time.
Golden Sun's a good one. I haven't heard a lot. Perfect Dark is one that I thought it has a game on the Xbox. Is it 360 or is it just the OG Xbox?
Yeah. It's N64 and 360, and then like, I don't know, 5 years ago they said they were making a new one.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, and then we haven't heard anything about it. It's like a James Bond situation.
Yeah.
Phantasy Star is also a good one. That one has like a gajillion entries, and I have not played a single one.
Yeah, same.
Actually, that's not true. There's one on the PSP that I played. Phantasy Star
Universe,
Online?
I think.
Ooh, could be Universe. I don't know, it's one of them. I played it, it was pretty fun. I lied. Damn, I'm a damn liar. I do remember playing that. I don't think I finished it. I don't think it captured my attention enough. Let's see here. We got another one. Natorious7 says Kid Icarus. We already talked about that one, but yes, I double agree. Poggame _ collector says Donkey Kong Country. That
Heck yeah.
is a fair point, because Tropical Freeze was ported to the Switch, but it was originally a Wii U game, and that came out like, at least 10 years ago, right?
14, yeah.
14? Whoa!
Was that the last DK game? Oh my gosh.
I know there's one on 3DS, but that was Donkey Kong Country Returns, and that also came out on the Wii.
Yep.
So yeah, had to have been, right?
And I could have talked about Donkey Kong as one of my 3. Love me some freaking Donkey Kong.
There you go. And then Giovanni3432 says a Legend of Dragoon, which we talked about. Then we have Retro Gamer Guy says Resistance! !
PS3 series.
Then we have KyleYager.ky says Goemon, at least here in the States, which is interesting to think about. Dead series that are still thriving in other regions, but not here. So are they really thriving?
That's a whole episode waiting to happen.
There we go. And then we have AriMac517 says Power Stone. The first one was on the PlayStation 1, right?
No, there's only 2, and they're both on Dreamcast.
Oh. Well, never mind. Wrong by that one. Then we have Ben Strohecker says, the Medal of Honor series, they were my favorite FPS games, and I wish they make a comeback.
Yeah, dude, Call of Duty really just like wiped out all the competition. Even Battlefield doesn't even like really exist anymore. But Medal of Honor went hard back in the day.
Dang. I remember there being a lot of those games, isn't there? Or was it only one?
For sure, yeah.
Okay. Then we have Andres _ D. Castro says Banjo Kazooie, Star Fox, and F-Zero. All classics that we would like to see.
Yeah.
Then one last one. We have Malistol79 says Twisted Metal because it's the best car carnage game of all time.
There have been a lot of people asking for that. I don't know if it's coming or what, but there's a whole freaking TV show now. What are you waiting for, PlayStation?
With freaking Anthony Mackie, not Hawkeye, oh my god, Falcon. And the new Captain America?
Yeah.
Come on now. That would have been perfect. But yeah, lots of dead series out there. Lots of ones that I hadn't even thought of, actually.
10 years almost without a new Donkey Kong game. That's crazy.
That is crazy. They're really just milking Tropical Freeze.
Well, we could say the same for Mario Kart 2012.
Wow. Yeah, but they're doing more for that game than they ever did for Tropical Freeze. They basically released a whole new game. They just didn't want to package it that way.
Do you still have the responses pulled up?
I do not, but I can pull them up. Why?
Because I totally didn't hear Mora Bros, and I was too busy shouting him out, and I just wanted to know what he said.
Oh, he said Gargoyles Quest / Demon's Crest.
Oh, those are very cool. I think it's been like 30 years since we got a new game in those series.
Oh, Lord. They're dead. They're buried and gone dead. There's no hope for them dead.
And those are perfect for October. Those are some spooky platformers.
Spooky. Ooh, no thanks. Well, heck yeah. Anytime I ask a question on Instagram, feel free to, one, just respond in like the little questions box, but also you can swipe up and tell me why. I like reading your guys' responses. It's very interesting. Plus, I learned about new games that I didn't know about. All the time.
Heck yeah. We're at 2.5 hours, so we did not accomplish the goal. That was a side quest, I guess. That was a side quest for us, hitting the 2-hour mark.
Well, we're down an hour, so that's pretty good.
Let's get through some gaming news. I mean, do you have anything you wanted to discuss real quick?
The only thing that I have to say is that apparently big box stores like Best Buy and Walmart are going to start phasing out all of their physical media. That means DVDs, Blu-rays, CDs, and games will stop being sold in stores and even online as early as 2024, next year, couple months.
I think there's a lot of rumors. I think a lot of stuff has been twisted by like the headlines and stuff. I don't know if any of that's actually confirmed. But regardless, we made a podcast like 2 years ago about the death of physical media, so you've been warned.
It's coming. It's around the corner.
Did you see this new analog N64 console that got announced?
I did, and I don't know anything about it.
Analog made this console, the Pocket, for playing your Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and it's like the greatest thing ever. Not to be dramatic. I don't have one. I wish I had one. But they're super freaking cool. Anyways, this company, very reliable, and I just kind of wanted to bring that up for gaming news. They're making a Nintendo 64 probably next year.
Ooh.
And it's going to plug directly into your HDMI on your TV, and it's going to play every N64 cartridge, and it's going to be great.
Ooh, I bet that's like $300. Am I right?
I don't think there's a price, but I'm sure that's on the cheap end. It's probably higher than that.
What?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness. That sounds awesome.
What else you got?
Animal Crossing has now been Lego-ified. It is the latest
Oh,
of the
yeah.
Nintendo IPs to get the Lego treatment.
Yeah, I think you
I
can get
don't
them all for about $200.
Yeesh. I don't think it's quite as cool as like the light up Mario figures or like the uh question block, the Nintendo 64 Mario 64 like question block, how it's like all the little scenes and whatnot. Or the NES in the TV screen,
The
how that
NES was
looks.
super cool.
But that is cool. I guess now the Animal Crossing / Lego fan base can buy all their cute little creatures in Lego form.
Yep.
And the last thing I have is Super Mario Wonder is out, and I didn't get a freaking elephant card, and I'm sad about it.
Yes, same.
I didn't even get. I got one. What is it called? Hollow. I got one. One.
Which one?
Fucking. Not even like Mario or Peach or like any of the fun ones. I don't remember. I sent you a picture. God damn. What is it? It's like Goomba Mario or like. I don't know. I can't remember. It's like Slime Mario or something. That's in the game. Stupid.
You're not even. Have you even opened the game?
No, I didn't care about the game at all. I'm notoriously just don't love them 2D Mario games. I don't care about this game. I only bought it for the cards.
That's incredible. That is incredible, Hannah. You are the true collector on this podcast.
It's still sitting in the freaking package it came in. I just wanted the cards.
I gotta
find a fun way to display them.
I was excited for the game, but I was really excited for the stupid cards. And I was, even with there only being 1,000, and I had like this 1 in a million chance, I was really hoping for this freaking card, and it bummed me out to not get that stupid elephant card.
Now, I don't know if the chances are 1 in 1,000, so 1,000 cards that you get, one of them will be it, or if there's only 1,000 made.
I think somebody in my Discord said if you buy 33 packs, on average, you will get 1 Elephant Mario card.
Oh, okay. So it is 1 in 1,000.
There's 1,000 cards made.
So your chances
I don't know. I don't know the
1,000.
math. I'm just telling you what I heard, but there is definitely 1,000 of them made.
Huh. That's a big old bummer. I want 1 in 1,000.
On day one, on launch day, like one of them sold for like $600.
Jeez.
But the cool thing is that they're literally numbered from 1 to 1,000. So each card has the number printed on it. It's so freaking cool, Hannah.
Cool for everyone but us. That's
so, like, what do they do with all the packs that didn't get pre-ordered? Right? Like, there's got to be extra packs laying around at Walmart HQ.
I hope they bring them to stores and they're like $5 a pop, because my ass is going to buy all of them.
I mean, they're not going to freaking just throw them in the trash. They're going to do something like that, I guess. I don't know.
Or, like, sell them for a cent or something. You know, like they do when they're trying to get rid of stock. I don't know. But hopefully some greedy Walmart employee doesn't just be like, you don't need this box, do you? I'm just going to take it. You know? I hope it's not that.
Anyways, let's quickly get through some been buying, been playing, wrap this up. What the heck you been buying, Hannah?
Well, you will be sad to know that the only thing that I have bought is the purple and green pastel Joy-Cons from Target. And I just got Silent Hope, I think it is, in the mail by Marvelous or Exceed. It's like a fun, big old pack, day one edition. I believe that's what it's called. I don't know. I pre-ordered it a long time ago and it just got here. Don't even remember what it is. And that's it.
Very cool.
It was like Christmas. It's a surprise.
Well, nice job on those Joy-Cons. I'm not sad to hear about that. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you. I had I have accrued a bunch of if you go to Target and you're part of their Target circle or whatever, it's like buy 5 laundry products and get $15. I had a ton of those. So they were only $20.
Nice.
I know. bargain shopper over here.
I live for those stupid deals. I love that crap.
Love those deals. What about you?
I bought Pokemon box.
I did see that. How much did that one cost?
$1,600.
Oh my god. Dang,
That's
dude.
that. And also, I'm going to a convention next month, so I bought myself a really pretty Super Mario 64 complete in box so that I can have my boy Chuck sign it, Charles Martinet. I'm going to go meet him.
Ooh, that's fun. What convention? Unless you don't want to say.
No, it's called Collecticon. I've never been to it. I'm not sure if it's ever been in Texas before. But yeah, you should totally come through, Hannah. Just a short drive to Texas.
When is it? When is it?
I believe it is the first weekend of November, so the 4th and the 5th.
Oh, man. I can't. I'm going to
Dude,
Halloween
I'm telling
Horror
you
Nights
way
with
in
my friends.
advance. It's already October 24th. Like, you got this.
I'm already going. I've committed to go to Halloween Horror Nights, which, if you don't know, it's like the scary haunted house thing at Universal. And if you know me, you know I hate scary things, but my friends are convincing me to go. So, I'm wondering if I should just film it and then post it to our Discord or somewhere fun.
That would be incredible.
I don't know if I'll be able. I don't know if I'll be of right mind. Me and my friends will film me.
I know what you've been playing, but why don't you tell the audience what you've been playing?
So the first thing I've been playing is Tetris 99 because they had the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 event. If you got like a certain amount of points or whatever, you got like the background and the music and whatnot. So I played it for that. Ooh. And then I messed around and got addicted. So now I play it a couple times every day because they have like the daily challenges, whatever, and you get like the ticket. And then if you get the ticket, you can buy the cool other backgrounds that I missed, like Pokemon, Animal Crossing, the first Xenoblade Chronicles, blah, 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 blah. All those fun things. And I thought I was pretty good at Tetris. Not an expert by any means, but I've played a lot of Tetris. That game will humble you so quickly. Like, I don't know if you played it, but you have to be, like, on your shit every second when you're playing that game. Like, I think my average of finishing, because obviously you're going against 99 opponents, is, like, maybe 40? Like, I've broken top 20 a couple times, but, like, I have to be really, really lucky and really on your shit.
I like that game a lot, but, yeah, I'm no expert, that's for sure.
That game is super difficult and very humbling. I'll freaking go back to my Puyo Puyo Tetris, which is like easy peasy compared to that. The other thing I've been playing is Harvestella. I know I've talked about it a bunch. I'm on the final boss. I don't want to finish it quite yet because, one, I don't want to finish the story, and two, I'm like getting really good at farming and raising my animals, and I know that once I finish it, I probably won't go back. So I haven't finished it yet. But I'm at the final boss. Like, it's like, you go to the final boss and it's like, are you sure you want to do this? You can't go back. So I know it's the final boss.
Your animals are going to die.
Yeah, I know. My farm that I've worked so hard for is going to be demolished. My eggplant, my fucking moon fruits, my coconuts, gone. But yeah, that one's really fun. Also, you know how I told you I thought I was done and I showed you the picture of the credits? I was like, bam, Harvestella done.
Yeah, that was like a month ago.
That was the bad ending. So, like, it makes you choose, like, it's like an impossible choice. And it makes you choose between these two things. And I was like, well, I guess this is the end of the game. I gotta choose. So I chose, and it pulled up. It's like, oh, blah, 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 bad ending. And it's like, why would you make this decision or something crazy? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't know there was a choice. But there is a choice. I'm not going to tell you how you get to that choice, but there's a good ending and a bad ending.
Did it literally say bad ending?
Yeah, and that blew my mind.
That's good. I love that.
I know. I was like, all right, there's hope. And then, of course, it sets you back so you can make that decision again and again and again. But that blew my mind. It's awesome.
How many hours?
And, God, I must be at least 65, 70 hours in now.
Nice.
I know. I'm gonna really love Harvest Moon. I can feel it. But yeah, that's all. I haven't started my Harvest Moon adventure yet.
Well, the two games that have knocked my freaking socks off in the last month are God of War from 2005, the OG.
Ooh, very
I
nice.
just like fired that up this past month and beat it this weekend. It is so freaking good, dude. Like, man, it's 18 years old. It has held up really freaking well, and I've never played it. It was awesome. I love it.
It's an action adventure, right?
It's like a hack and slash.
Oh, okay. Is it? How many hours did you put into it? Is it long?
It's a really short game. I would say less than 10 hours, like 8 or 9.
Oh, not bad at all.
I played it on PS3. It's a HD remaster, very pretty.
Very pretty. Because it came out on PS2 first, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Solid.
And the other was Super Mario Wonder. I did not get the Elephant Mario card. I don't know if I mentioned that, guys. No, I freaking love this game. Playing it co-op with my girlfriend. We're already on world 4 out of 6. I'm sure there's bonus worlds as always, but super unique and just like straight out of the box. Unlike so many AAA titles on other consoles these days, like straight out of the box, no glitches to be had. Just a
Oh,
really good, polished freaking game from Nintendo.
beautiful.
Um, but yeah, I mean, some like it's just crazy when you get this Wonder Seed. Like the world just freaking goes haywire, and you see these things that you never could have predicted are gonna happen. It's so much fun. I'm loving it.
That almost makes me want to play it. But it's probably better playing with somebody else. Like I always thought that 2D Mario, especially the later versions, were more fun playing with other people.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed playing co-op on the Wii U games, all that. You might wait till you have a friend over for sure.
I might wait till I have a friend. Period.
um,
That's it.
what else was I gonna say about the game? Dang it, I don't know.
Um.
Episode is too long already, so next month, Hannah and I are diving into some Harvest Moon. We are going to play like a few games each and come and talk about the game, the series really. And that's going to be our Thanksgiving themed episode. I'm excited.
Me too. Very excited. I've played none. Not Harvest Moon, not many farming sims in general, and certainly not Story of Hope. Story Seasons. Not Hope. Story Seasons.
Same. But other than that, we will see you in November. You can follow Hannah. Where can they follow you, Hannah?
Game Girl Advance SP on Instagram.
Am I missing anything else before we close this out?
I don't think so. I think you're setting us up pretty well.
All right. I am at Bird Dog Gaming everywhere, and we will see you next time right here on the Unlockable podcast.
See you.